Lost it, man. You see, I thought after a week of me being away there and you off a couple of days.
No.
I'll tell you, I came back
on Thursday, didn't know what to do.
I came back and looking at that computer says, how do I tighten up the jingle into the song?
It's amazing how quickly you forget it.
I forgot. Do you know? But I'm kind of back into the action.
Aye, it's a busy show you do. You see, it's a lot of.
It's not just like
keep a lot of plates turning, don't you?
You have to do like a dishwasher. I have a dishwasher here. Maybe you can help us with this here and put it out there. We have a dishwasher. It's a newish enough dishwasher, right? And it's hardly used because you put in the dishwasher tablet, right? And there's suds everywhere.
What?
You know, when it does this rinse cycle and everything, it's all suddy inside. Why is that?
Unbelievable.
I need to
Where do you push the tablet? Where do you put the tablet?
Well, I put it in the proper wee place.
Have you tried just throwing it into
we've tried all of that. But it's like you think it was a washing machine. Do you know? And so then you have to rinse out the plates again. Full of suds.
Never
I know.
seen that before.
And Daddy, listen to me. You might say, try a wee half tablet instead of the full tablet.
No, that would be stupid.
I tried the half tablet. It didn't work.
What happens if you do no tablet?
Well, it just rinse. There's no suds.
Right. Okay. So it's down to what it's doing. Are you sure you're not putting in? Are you sure you put the dishwasher tablet in?
Yeah, it's not very liquid or nothing like that. No,
Are
it's like
sure?
a washing machine. No, I'm 100% sure because
sure
the boss at home has. This has been going on for about 3 or 4 months. It's one of the elephant in the room. I need to sort this out.
That's a mystery.
For a happy life in the kitchen.
Well, we've got lots of people listening.
Go on, please, somebody help us with
that stuff and all that kind of malarkey.
That would be amazing if somebody could text in
Never heard
086.
tell of anything like that.
It's just a big soddy thing full of bubbles.
Sounds exciting. I think you're putting pods in it. You're putting
washing machine pods honest to God, no joking aside. Go on, help me with this one.
I'm not joking.
Because I'm going to have to do something.
Right, okay. I don't know what to say about that. We'll see.
Find an answer for me, will you?
All right,
please.
Good. Take care of yourself. All right, it is the 9 till noon show. If you can sort that out for you, get in touch with us. It's just a minute past 9. Let's get a news update. It's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A number of schools in Strabane are closed today due to what they say is a security concern. Holy Cross College and Strabane Academy have this morning both issued messages advising parents of children already en route to the schools to make arrangements to collect them. It's understood police are in attendance at other schools in the town. No further details are known at this time. Questions are being asked over who has responsibility for the emptying of council-owned litter bins in Donegal. It comes after a bin on the Greenway in Muff in recent days was overflowing, with nappies and dog fouling bags left strewn across the ground. Councillor Terry Crossan is seeking clarity as to whether responsibility lies with the roads or environmental section of Donegal County Council. He says additional bins are also needed across Inishowen. Councillor Crossan says not only are overflowing bins unsightly, but it also leads to environmental concerns.
It's very unsightly that you would have a bin overflown, and not only overflown, but then you have a accumulation of dog poo bags. I would like it emptied more often. I would like more bins positioned on the Greenway, and I would like to see them emptied on a regular basis, because it's a reflection on the county council if these bins aren't emptied properly and regularly.
The Irish Road Haulage Association claim barriers at toll booths are wasting millions of euro worth of diesel. It claims trucks having to stop and start is costing drivers over €26 million on wasted fuel. The association say its members are paying more in wasted diesel than in toll fees every day, and is renewing its call to have toll booths removed completely. Its president, Ger Highland, says there would be huge benefits to removing barriers.
It'll cut down on congestion, it'll reduce the carbon emissions. The motorways are the safest roads in the country because everybody is doing their maximum speed. We want to be on motorways, we don't want to be on regional roads, we don't want to be in towns. Our drivers are limited to the number of hours they can drive every day.
27 community groups in Donegal are to share €166,000 in funding from the SSE Renewables Minty Cat Community Fund. The fund distributes wind-powered funding from 2 wind farms in Donegal for a variety of energy-efficient and sustainable projects. Among those benefiting from the funding are Donegal Mountain Rescue, Convoy Community and Environmental Committee, Termon GAA Club and Deal College. Since 2007, groups in Donegal have received €1.6 million from SSE Renewables. Finally, for weather, a little chilly this morning but largely dry with good sunny spells developing. Highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
The infection felt terrible. I just wasn't getting better. I was breathing fast and I felt confused. I had shivers and pain through my body. I was drinking water, but I wasn't peeing. I felt like I was going to die. In the hospital, they said I had sepsis, and it's urgent.
Sepsis can hide behind any infection at any age, so watch out for the signs. Visit hse.ie/sepsis for more information. And don't be afraid to ask the question, could it be sepsis? From the HSE.
Calling all food producers and artisan creators. The Donegal Festival of Food is taking place on the weekend of May the 24th and 25th at Oakville Park, Rafo, with big names including Marco Pierre White, Rachel Allen and Paula McIntyre. Whether you bake, brew, grill or grow, it's an opportunity to showcase your passion to thousands of food lovers. Secure your spot, meet new customers and be part of Donegal's tastiest event of the year. Spaces are limited, so book yours today. See oakvillepark.com.
Hey, looking for car insurance that's simple, fast and comes with a little extra? That's RedClick. Until the end of March, when you quote and buy online, we'll give you a €40 retail voucher to treat yourself to something special. For insurance that's easy, insurance that's quick. Visit redclick.ie. €40 voucher offer is valid for new private car policies purchased from 1st January to 31st March. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Generali Seguros y Reyes Seguros SAU. Trading as RedClick and Generali is authorised by the General Directorate of Insurance and Pension Funds in Spain and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning, and you're very welcome along to the 9 till Noon Show here in Highland Radio. It's the start of another week, and in case you weren't listening to Lee, yes, it's nice and bright across the Northwest here today. The sun has got its hat on. How long it lasts, I don't know. Apparently, the weather's going to be pretty decent up until Wednesday evening. Then we'll see a bit of rain heading into the weekend. So we'll enjoy it while we've got it. Hopefully you can get out and about and enjoy it, or look out the window and take it in. All right, we've got 3 hours of news, views and your comments to 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. If you want to give us a call, that's text and WhatsApps, by the way. If you want to give us a call, it's 07491 25,000. Or if you prefer to email, it's comments@highlandradio.com. And of course, as we always do, we stream the show across various platforms here on the 9 till Noon Show. You can watch at home on your smart TV or your Fire Stick. If you've got the YouTube app, Highland Radio Ireland. We're on Facebook, on X and on TikTok this morning, actually, to see how that goes. Right, let's have a look at the papers to see what the story is. And we'll start with the Derry People Donegal News. Castlefin woman Ruby Druce was remembered yesterday as at her Requiem Mass for enriching the lives of so many people during her own extraordinary life. A large crowd of mourners turned out to bid an emotional farewell to the remarkable 109-year-old who passed away peacefully, surrounded by her devoted family on Thursday. Mrs. Druce's funeral mass was held at St Mary's Church in the border village of Castlefin. Father Kieran Harkin, the parish priest of the Auchnashinan parish in Letterkenny, where Mrs. Druce spent 10 years while living with her niece Margot Butler, who sadly passed away last summer, celebrated the funeral mass. He told mourners how Mrs. Druce was blessed with an extraordinary long life, during which she enriched the lives of so many people. Lovely words there. On to the Derry news now, and judges granting anonymity orders to defendants charged with drug supply offences have been accused of protecting those peddling death in our communities by a former Derry City and Strabane District Councillor. This is something I've queried myself in the past. I can understand as to why someone might make the argument that maybe their life could be in threat or what have you, but I presume in that industry, if you could put it like that, wherever you are, in whatever city or community you are, you could face the same sort of peril. But yet Derry seems to be unique in this regard. But reading on, Derry holds the record for the highest number of such orders. Emmett Doyle, Aintu Ballyonet representative, said there was considerable anger in the city. Those charged with drug distribution were being granted anonymity in Derry Magistrates Court. He described the situation as tipping the scales of justice away from victims and potential victims towards protecting those who are peddling death in our communities. That being said, of course, this is often, isn't it, during the trial stage. What do you think about that? Are you from the city area or have an interest in it, or generally a view on that? 086 60 25,000 from outside the Republic, 00 353 86 60 25,000. The front page of the Irish Daily Mail this morning: the state is more likely than ever to reject international protection applications, with 81% refused at first instance this year, compared to 52% rejected in 2017. So that 8 out of 10, in excess of 8 out of 10 international protection applications refused. Ireland has seen applications for international protection soar since the pandemic, reaching an all-time high of 18,500 last year. Justice Minister Jim O'Callaghan told the paper the figures show that too many people are coming to Ireland seeking international protection who are not entitled. It's important, he says, that people know if you are not entitled to international protection, you should not come to Ireland seeking it. You will be refused and be directed to leave the country. I wonder how many of those that are directed to leave the country are leaving, though. With a 72.5% refusal rate last year and 14,000 first instant decisions, and I turn to page 4, made, there were approximately 10,000 refusals issued in 2024 in total. In 2022, 13,651 applied for international protection, with 13,277 applications in 2023. But the refusal rate has grown. But as I say, I wondered, I didn't get to read the whole article because of time pressures. I wondered, did the journalist ask of those that refused, how many have actually exited the country? The Irish Independent reports today that government plans for tax cuts may have to be postponed due to the threat of a global trade war. Finance Minister Paschal Donohoe has said, warning of potential risks to tens of thousands of jobs. Now, just reading back over the history with Minister Paschal Donohoe, he often does talk of, in fairness to him, worst case scenarios. You will know they've been warning for the longest time about the potential loss of the revenue, the high VAT rates we get from multinationals. So my earphones are playing up here. I'm slightly distracted there. Okay, that's it. Right, models undertaken by the Department of Finance and the ESRI show that an intense trade dispute between the US and the EU would risk increased prices, fewer new jobs and slower growth in the economy. Mr. Donohoe said it's very possible that between 50 and 80,000 jobs would be affected over the next 5 years, which would have otherwise been created or kept in the economy in the period under previous projections. So there you go. On to the Irish Times now, and an interesting story on trainee teachers carried in this paper and a couple of others. All trainee teachers will be required to complete work placement in special education settings under reforms aimed at ensuring schools can better meet the needs of growing numbers of students with additional needs. The move comes amid a threefold increase in autism prevalence in the last decade, and strains on the education system as authorities scramble to find appropriate school places and educators for children with special needs. And of course, this is a story we're acutely aware of here in the Northwest. Minister for Education, Helen McCann, is to ask the Teachers' Council, which regulates the profession, to ensure teachers are trained to deliver high-quality teaching to children of all abilities, including those with special education needs. She will say it's imperative that all teachers are equipped to deliver to all children the education to which they are entitled so they can reach their full potential. So is this ensuring that teachers are adequately trained once they qualify, or is this also about having them work in this area while they're training to address a need? Or maybe it's a bit of both. I don't know. Well, I'm sure those of you out there will have more information on that than I do. Is it a good thing or otherwise? Let us know. The Pope has been pictured for the first time for a long time. He's got his thumb up to crowds as he leaves hospital after 5 weeks. He looks okay, actually, to be honest with you. I think many of us perhaps thought that we would never see him leave hospital, given the really quite dire assessments of his health that we were getting. But as I say, you can see on his face his illness has taken its toll, but he still looks, I think, really quite well for a man of his age, for what he's been through both recently and in the past. But the Pope gives a thumbs up to well-wishers yesterday as he makes his first public appearance since being hospitalised 5 weeks ago. The crowd of thousands chanted his name as he emerged on a 5th-floor balcony at the hospital, waved and then said slowly, "Thank you, everyone." After greeting the supporters, he returned home to the Vatican for the first time since arriving at the clinic on February 14th and battling a respiratory tract infection and double pneumonia. The Pope, who's 88, was pushed out in a wheelchair for his 1-minute appearance on the hospital balcony in Rome. In reference to one of the people cheering below, he said with a smile, "I see the woman with the yellow flowers." The Holy Father began to cough as he was taken back inside. Francis was then discharged and driven away. So it's, as I say, what is post-hospital care and what have you is, I'm not really quite sure, but he's out of hospital now and was able to address the crowds there. The Sun this morning, Madeleine McCann prime suspect, Christian Bruckner, may walk free in 2 weeks unless he's charged over the 3-year-old's kidnap and murder. Investigators panicked by the surprise acquittal of Bruckner over rape charges last year, are readying for D-Day on the Madeleine case. Convicted paedophile, who is 48, is bidding for early release from a separate rape sentence with a hearing expected in days. Madeleine's case witnesses have been called for a secret meeting to prepare for the eventuality of charges being brought against the German national. A source close to the case in Germany said normally a move like this, his bid for an early release, would be laughed out of court. But everyone is very nervous after what happened with his rape trial last year. The court was surprisingly favourable to him. So what actual evidence in the Madeleine McCann case they actually have against him? He may well be the prime suspect, but you really do need to have a decent case to progress it. And finally, more than €26 million worth of diesel is wasted every year because trucks have to wait at congested toll booths. That's a remarkable figure, isn't it? The Irish Road Hauliers Association also stated that almost 45,000 tonnes of carbon is generated annually because of these delays. The IBHA said the high cost of wasted diesel at toll booths is on top of €100,000 that the haulage industry is paying in toll fees every day. Wowzers, okay, €100,000 a day. That's big, big money. All right, that was a run through some of the stories in the papers. If there's anything caught your ear, if you have a say on any of that, let us know. 08660 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Imagine what you could do with €20,000 to refresh your living space. Highland Radio and Foy's are giving you the chance to transform your home with a €10,000 home makeover draw, plus €10,000 in cash. Get your tickets now at highlandradio.com for a chance to make your dream home a reality.
Ensure the safety of your team with SafeTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, iPath MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SafeTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact safetech.ie today.
Shower, teeth, clothes, coffee, keys, car, drive, work. Shower, teeth, clothes, coffee, keys, car, drive, work. Shower, teeth, clothes, coffee, keys, car, drive, truck! You never know what's coming. Slow down on rural roads. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
Refresh your space for summer with Foy's of Ballybuffet and Letterkenny. Whether you're looking to refresh your home or transform your business, Foy's experts are here to help you every step of the way with free interior design and paint colour consultations. From wallpapers to curtains, blinds to lighting and accessories to furniture styling. We've got it all. Ask about our defective block support scheme. Foy's of Ballybuffet and Letterkenny, the largest paint and wallpaper stockists in the Northwest.
This is an important message for all drivers. From March 31st, the law is changing. When you renew or take out motor insurance, you'll need to provide your driver number. It's on your driving licence, listed under point 4D, so make sure you have it to hand. Without your driver number, you won't get insured. Double check that you have your licence, and if you can't find it, Take steps to have a valid licence in time for your insurance renewal date. This message is brought to you by Insurance Ireland and the Motor Insurers Bureau of Ireland in support of a Government of Ireland initiative.
Celebrate Mother's Day with a delicious 5-course carvery lunch at the Villa Rose Hotel Ballybuffet on Sunday, March 30th. Treat Mum to a wonderful dining experience with a selection of freshly prepared dishes in a relaxed, family-friendly atmosphere. Call the Villa Rose Hotel to reserve your table today.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
The time's approaching 20 minutes past 9. We're joined on the programme now by Sinn Féin Deputy Pearse Doherty. Good morning, Pearse. Thanks very much for your time.
Good morning to you, Greg.
Good to have you with us. Okay, we heard a brief clip of you on our news there. We just wanted to tease this out a little further. In that you believe now the government has serious questions to answer over what's being framed as the disability grant scandal. Talk to me about what has been established now in relation to these commitments that seem to not have come to pass.
Yeah, I think there's two things to this, Greg. The first thing and the first priority is to get this money paid to organisations so that it can provide this support to children with complex needs and additional needs in our county. And to have that done without delay. And that's my priority. And I think that after raising this in the way that I have, I think we can now probably be assured, if there's ever such a thing, that this money will flow into the county. But there is a second question in relation to how did this happen? And the background to this is, as you know, because they were on your programme, parents of children with additional needs back in 2023 started to speak out about the lack of services, the fact that the teams that are here, the HSE teams that are here in many parts of the county, that there's a 60% vacancy in some areas, that there's children going without therapies, without OT, without speech and language. And, you know, we kind of say that and that kind of rhymes off your tongue. But if you're sitting at home and you've got a young 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, and they aren't able to formulate their words or string a sentence, as a parent, you're worried, are they going to be able to speak? What will that mean to their education? If they're in a wheelchair and the wheelchair they've outgrown the wheelchair and it's now hurting them because it's too small, but there's no OT there to resize them and they're in constant pain and you know, that worry, that all that challenge, or if you need that OT to help them walk. You know, these are things that a lot of us take for granted, the ability to speak, the ability to walk. So they spoke, they shared their own stories. And as a result of that the government, in fairness, listened. And the minister came forward and says, look, we can't create people overnight to develop these therapies, but what we're going to do is we're going to reach out to the community, voluntary and private sector, and we're going to ask them in Donegal and right across the state, can you step in here? Can you provide any support, any therapies for these families and do it in an emergency basis, and we will fund it. And that's what happened in November 2023. So a call for applications was made at that time. It was said that they would make the decision 2 weeks later. And then 2 weeks after that, in December 2023, money was supposed to be paid out to these organisations. So we were delighted because at least we were going to get something. And in the meantime, we had to resolve the bigger problem. So that all happened. The organisations we were encouraging, including parents, were encouraging different organisations to apply. The applications were made. And then time went on, Greg, and we didn't hear anything of it. So I started raising questions on behalf of families. When is this decision going to be made? It moved into 2024. There was still no decision being made, no funding coming onto the ground. And this was supposed to be emergency.
Just in relation to that funding, I don't have the exact details in my head at the moment, but I seem to recall talking to the minister at that time. Was this funding that had been allocated, but because there was a shortage of staff, it wasn't being spent, and then she chose then to actually ring fence this money to seek what availability might be in the private sector? Because I remember she talked of that being her idea on this programme. Is that so? The money was there then.
So the minister and the government will always say it was never an issue of money. It just they couldn't get the staff, and because 60% of the staff that was funded were vacant, obviously there was savings there. So they were going to reach out to the private and voluntary sector to fill that gap in the short term. So it kept. I put down a series of questions in relation to this, and we were getting kind of told that, oh well, there's a lot of applications. It's taking longer than we thought. We were raising this at the HSE forum, and then roll on to June, Greg, the eve or 2 days before the local elections. we had an announcement with the Minister travelling to Donegal to a fantastic organisation, No Barriers, who provides fantastic support for children and adults across the county. And an announcement was made that 4 projects in Donegal were going to get €3.6 million of funding from this. Donegal getting probably the larger part, by far the largest part of the pie. 52 organisations across the state going to be supported, but Donegal getting the most because Donegal had the biggest problem in terms of vacancies. So that was brilliant. It was kind of, look, we were in the middle of an election campaign. We were all thinking, this is very much an election issue. They've timed this, which is not fair on children, like to hold this for the eve of an election. But most importantly, the money was going to be there.
And they might argue that with everything that was said up until that point, that was just the way the timing fell. It was interesting it was interesting that, Greg, that I wasn't invited. Padraig McLaughlin, who was central in bringing the families and the CDMT and the HSE forum together, wasn't invited. But who was invited? Charlie McConalogue was there as a minister, and Rabbit, the minister, was there. And interestingly, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael local election candidates were also invited to it. So, all right. That's
and photographs and all the rest. So,
okay.
Anyway,
and indeed, the minister came over. I believe we went over there at that time, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that's that. Job done.
And she said it was a game changer for children in Donegal, and it would have been. It would have been. And it was a game changer because of the failure of the state and the HSE and the government actually to provide the service in the first instance. But it was going to be a huge relief to people. And one of the families were asked to attend there with a young boy who would have been probably 8 at the time, is 9 now. Young Jack has cerebral palsy. He's a wheelchair user, and he has used services of No Barriers in the past. And they were invited down for this game changer announcement. And that was that. And then again, we were back into a situation where we were starting to hear that money hadn't been allocated to the 4 organisations. I started to raise questions. I put in freedom of information requests. I was told that none of the information, none of the documents could be released. That's not normal, by the way. And they were saying that they couldn't be released because the decision hadn't been made. And I was there going, but the decision has been made. It was on Highland Radio. It was on Donegal Daily. So we put in another freedom of information. We were getting stonewalled. And then loads of questions were going in. And we were just getting stonewalled, Greg, to tell you the God's honest truth, until February when the minister changed, which was obviously key, I think, to getting the real information. And then at the end of February, I got an answer back from the minister basically saying that the money was never there. The money doesn't exist, and she's trying to resolve the issue.
That perhaps does make a little bit of sense, because if say, for instance, in my house, if I got 200 quid together for oil and I didn't need the oil and I bought coal with it, right? That's really, really quite simple. I didn't think government worked like that. That there would be a pot of fund that wasn't being spent on wages that all of a sudden you could redirect to a different source. I didn't think government worked that simply, or that's how it could be. So it was really...
There's no way, Greg, there's no way that you will be able to... Like, this wasn't just so people understand this, this wasn't a minister kind of announcing a grant to somebody of, and the money wasn't there. This was a whole new scheme that was invented. This was a brand new grant, a brand new application process. The HSE had it up on its website, a whole assessment process. This was something brand new. And the idea that this was done without any sanction or money is just crazy. But even if that was bad, because the money was supposed to be paid out, remember, 4 weeks after the applications opened in 2023. But if that was bad enough, how then 7 months later or 6 months later did the minister travel to Donegal and was able to the euro announce funding for 4 organisations? And what we found out during the week is that the HSE have made a statement on this saying that this was never sanctioned and the money was never sanctioned. And
where did the HSE provide, through the processes they went through, was it the HSE that provided the ministers with the very specific figures that you're talking of?
what the HSC did was the department the minister opened up this scheme. The HSC were asked to evaluate the applications that came in, which they did, and sent back the 52 organisations that met the criteria that the minister decided, and then it was put to the minister. Indeed, when we were asking questions regionally and locally, the HSC employees were actually directing the organisations to the minister's private office. Because they were basically saying this is a ministerial issue and it's not a HSE issue. And even the HSE locally were not informed who the groups were, weren't even consulted. And that's where this gets all kind of very, very cruel, because this isn't, a grant for a road, a grant for a footpath, public lighting. That's really important. As I said to the minister, this is families who have gone without services for years. Like Jack, the young lad who was in that photograph, hasn't had OT from HSE funded source for a year and a half, hasn't had speech and language from a HSE funded for a year and a half. That's cruel. But what's crueler is that you're invited down to a launch. You're told by the minister that this is going to be a game changer for children like Jack and others in the county, and that the money isn't there. And a year later, the money still hasn't appeared.
It's quite
and that's what annoys me, because this money isn't huge money in the context of things.
No, but it has to be there at the same time. It's quite interesting too, because there was doing the interviews at that time and trying to establish, the role of some of these organisations and what would be provided and how it would be provided. It wasn't really clear to me at that time. And I remember commenting off air saying, well, what were we just talking about? Because I wasn't really quite clear in relation to that. That being said, I understand that some of the organisations, perhaps across the country, are perhaps not saying too much at this time because they feel that maybe a positive announcement is imminent. Are they just being extra cautious, or are you of the view that this will be sorted, given the scale of it, sooner rather than later?
Look, I can understand these organisations and the predicament they're in. There were announcements of grants of monies that simply didn't exist. My job as an advocate, not only for parents, but for organisations, also as an elected representative here, is to make sure that they get the money. I'm kind of convinced through the work that I've done over the last week, but also the work of wee Jack and his advocate, his mother, that this money will flow now. And there is an issue, I would say. I can't speak for organisations, but people were kind of saying they don't want to, bite the hand that feeds them in that reality. But I think if you spoke privately to any organisation who was told that they were going to get this money, that it was going to be paid out within 2 weeks of them being told, and we're over a year and a half later, and they still haven't got the money. That's bad. But the worst thing is, and I know you say, what were they supposed to provide? Like Finn Valley Leisure Centre had a specific program that was is focused on children with Down syndrome and spina bifida. The organisation in Derry, for example, was providing counselling services, OT services, and speech and language services.
So very clear what.
If you're the father or mother of that child who didn't get that service, like, time is so crucial here. This is why it's so, and it's not big money. Like, the one thing I do agree with Simon Harris on is, like, €8 million, which is what was supposed to go to the 52 organisations, is not big money in the context of it. So even if the government knew that they made a mistake here, that they announced something as an election gimmick, why didn't they sort it out straight away afterwards?
Well, a lot of people wouldn't have the faith that you have in any political party to be able to create a 2-year pre-election situation, if you know what I mean, because this was in the works for an awful long time. But listen, anyway, let's hope it is resolved. Obviously, your party's spokesperson on finance, so it'd be remiss of me not to put to you Pascal Donoghue at the weekend. He said a worst case scenario because of US tariffs and any trade war between the EU and the US. A worst-case scenario could see between 50 and 80,000 jobs that would have either been created or kept within the Irish economy lost. He also says it could raise some concerns on timelines for tax cuts, etc. Do you agree with him?
Well, that's an ESRI paper, and I was commenting on that yesterday with Pascal on RT.
It's interesting how it's been framed then in the press today.
Yeah, like the important thing here is that Pascal's kind of making the point that the EU should retaliate, basically, in terms of counter tariffs, and that was the playbook the last time we had Trump here, where Trump increased tariffs on EU products, the aluminium and steel, and then the EU responded with tariffs on Harley Davidsons and bourbon and other products and so on and so forth. Trump has made it very clear if that happens, he's going to put more tariffs on Europe. So, but the key thing that we at Greg at the minute is we don't actually know what level of tariffs Trump is talking about. We're not going to know until the 2nd of April. We don't know when it's going to kick in. We don't know what rate or what sectors are going to be hit. So there's a lot of unknowns at the minute. The one thing the ESRI paper did say is the impact that it will have on jobs and the economy and the public finances will be significant. But if Europe responds, it will be more significant. So if Europe retaliates, that means we're going to lose more jobs that should have been created, that aren't going to be created, or where our growth is going to be worse affected. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, why would we do counter tariffs if we know that it's going to affect our companies, affect our employees in terms of less jobs, and most importantly, it's going to affect the Irish public? If Europe puts tariffs on American products, the people who are paying for it is the people that are listening to this program. It's not Trump. It means it's going to be dearer to buy products in Ireland. So I think we have to take a breath in relation to that.
I get where you're coming from, and I think maybe many people would agree with you. But I mean, there's something else going on here, isn't there, in terms of the geopolitical repositioning and power struggle, that it's not just about, let's not respond to tariffs because it's such and such, but the argument could be that, then Trump goes on the press in America and says, I told you I'd put Europe in their place, and belittle the union, play it out as a victory. You know the way it's bigger than it's a big.
Right. So you have to look and say, what's the objective here? The objective is to end this trade war, right? The best way to win a trade war is don't get involved in it in the first place. See, when Trump puts tariffs on European products, that will affect jobs, it will affect finances, there's no doubt about it. But the biggest effect it's going to have is on American consumers. Because when American consumers are buying the tablets now that are produced in Cork or in Galway or in Mayo, they're actually going to be more expensive. When they're buying a product that is coming from Europe,
but he is prepared to play the long game to ensure that those tablets
are... But is the American public...
Well,
Greg, the question is the American public prepared for that? Because one of the big promises that Trump had is that he was going to reduce inflation, he was going to deal with the cost of living. And the question we need to ask ourselves, and this is what I'm saying, is that what the government's response should be is, don't just fall into line with Europe, because you're 100% right, there's other issues at play here, geopolitical, NATO and all the rest that we're not involved in. But we have to protect the interests of the Irish people, Irish jobs, and what we're being told by the Department of Finance and the ESRI is, if you support counter tariffs from Europe as a knee-jerk reaction, what you're going to have is less jobs created, less finances available to fund public services, and our consumers, the Irish people, are going to pay higher for products.
I have to say, because there's just seems to be something glaring to me here, and I'm sorry to go back to St. Patrick's Day, but there seems to have been a real good window of opportunity for your party to go over and make these points directly to the administration over there, and to actually put the Irish people's interests perhaps before, rather than taking a stance on what might be happening, the terrible injustices in the Middle East, that actually maybe you should have practiced what you preached and put the Irish people first and gone over and used any opportunity to make these points directly to the US administration.
So we have an ongoing engagement with the US administration, politicians on both sides of the political divide. The only Irish politician that had the opportunity to sit down with Donald Trump.
But I purposely didn't mention Donald Trump.
No, but this is the guy who wakes up in the morning and decides what's happening. In fairness, the only person was the Taoiseach, and that's why we supported that to happen. I don't think he used the opportunity to the best that he could have, and to tell you the gods on straight. But let's be clear, Michelle O'Neill was in America days before St. Patrick on an investment conference. We'll continue to engage with the American administration at all of its levels in relation to Irish interests, but also pointing out the fact that the support of the genocide in Palestine, and what's happened in Gaza, what happened overnight, the arming of it is absolutely wrong. And there's a time where you have to stand up and you have to say, you have to call out. And we did that in terms of St. Patrick's Day. We didn't have the opportunity to sit down, but we weren't going to take part in something that
I know, but you've also called on the government to move out of perhaps the EU's position on this, as it relates to the tariffs, and to ensure that Ireland's not as deeply affected by them as is possible. So, in one instance is you're taking the stance on the Middle East, but on the other, you know, you don't want, you're looking for something else, or it feels like you're looking for something else to maintain Ireland's best interests.
Like, we would be asking the Irish government to use its influence on both sides, on both East and West. So I'm not arguing for the Irish government to split from the EU in relation to its position. I'm asking for the Irish government as an equal partner to make sure that the voice of the Irish interest is heard very clearly.
Understood.
And a knee-jerk reaction to something that we don't even know how it's going to play out. But the minister talking yesterday that there's going to be counter tariffs without even knowing what the first tariffs are going to look like and what the response is likely to be. You know, it's all right playing these games. We have to remember at the centre of this here are Irish people, Irish jobs, consumers who are going to pay more prices, dear prices for things. So we have to put that very central and at all times raise those issues.
Okay.
I think there's a role for the Irish government. I know Simon Harris is going to be talking to Lutnick today, and I think that's important as well, because we have to have those type of conversations in relation to his commentary about Ireland in terms of, you know, tax havens and tax gimmicks and all that. And I've raised this how many times with the government. The past practices of the Irish government in relation to tax of multinationals is coming home to bite us. Now, many of those loopholes have been closed down. I've been instrumental in making sure that they were closed down. But the reputation damage is impacting us, and we're paying some of the price now. So all of this is going to be resolved through dialogue. A trade war isn't going to end by just, you know, hitting more tariffs on each other. At the end of the day, people, sensible heads, cool heads, have to get round the table and actually sort this out. What I'm saying is, don't knee-jerk. Let's do that now.
I get you. Sorry, I misframed them.
I
misframed your comments. You're effectively saying that let's not just presume that we'll go with whatever Europe says. All right, listen, thanks very much for that. I do appreciate it. Sinn Féin Deputy Pearse Doherty, just in relation to the first issue we were discussing there, the Children's Disability Grant. No Barriers Foundation, on Near Neighbours here, released the following statement. We welcome the recent discussion in the Dáil regarding the Children's Disability Service Funds. No Barriers looks forward to working with children and families in Donegal to deliver long-awaited and much-needed services. We remain committed to ongoing collaboration and all with all relevant stakeholders. And quite understandably, that's a holding statement, I suppose, till they see how all pans out. Okay, listen, thank you very much for that.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Hegarty's Home Interiors Buncrana, the biggest direct importer of sofas, beds, mattresses and flooring in the Northwest. Best in stock deals on selected sofas and corner sofas. Best in stock deals on gas lift beds. Best in stock on mattresses. Best in stock deals on laminate flooring, semi-solid flooring and carpets. Full fitting service on carpets and wood flooring. With a free delivery service throughout the Northwest, including all of Northern Ireland. Hegarty's Home Interiors Buncrana. Always lower prices.
Are you on the hunt for a reliable car that offers exceptional value for money? At iMotors, we have a huge range of 2024 nearly new Nissan models available. Whether it's petrol, hybrid or fully electric, Nissan has a 2024 model that suits your lifestyle. All our nearly new Nissans come with low mileage and are prepared by our expert team. Visit us today at imotors.ie to find out more.
iMotors, fearless generation.
What do you say to boring lunches? Focaccia! With Centra's new focaccia sandwich range, you get the toastiest, tastiest focaccia bread. Then choose from high-protein chicken with Frank's Red Hot sauce, delicious caprese melt, and more. And they're only €6.50. Focaccia! Centra, live every day.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual office address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save your business hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 7187 8077 for more details.
So, as you would have heard from Michaela in the news, revealing the news that some schools in Tyrone have been closed due to what have been described as security concerns. In posts on social media, Strabane Academy and Holy Cross College have said they will not open today. And in fact, They posted, any children already en route, we would ask that parents make arrangements to collect them. That was posted on Strabane Academy on their Facebook page. Holy Cross College also posted on Facebook to say that they are closed due to a security concern. Councillor Jason Barr is with me on the programme now. Jason, thank you very much for your time. A number of schools closed. What do we know at this point?
So we're just in the dark at the minute, Greg, as to what the security reasons are for the closures of 3 schools. So I know that you've mentioned there Strabane Academy and Holy Cross College, but also the Derry Road Primary School. The Strabane Primary School has also been closed this morning. I was dropping my daughter off at 8:20 and 2 police officers advised that the school was also closed for security reasons, but I asked for any more information on it, but they says they weren't obliged to give out any more information as of then. Now, I have also put a request into the PSNI for any information on it, but as yet I'm still waiting on that phone call. But it's caused absolute mayhem right across the town, as you can imagine, Greg, especially as you mentioned there, and at the start of the bulletin there about children were already on their way into school on buses. Children were obviously, parents were obviously on their way to work. So this caused a lot of confusion, a lot of worry within parents of how they were going to lift their children again to get them home safely. Now, I know that a lot of the buses did take the children back home. So fair play to the buses for on that, but it's just caused widespread disruption.
The parents
right
themselves
across
could
the
have been
Strabane
on the way to work after that. Not everyone's going to get the information, and it's really quite concerning if you were driving in the car and perhaps heard that this was happening, and you'd already sent your kids away on the bus. Do we? I mean, we don't. So I'm speculating with you here, Jason. I mean, is there something going on at each individual school? Were the police advised that something may happen at one or all of these schools? That's just information we don't have at this time.
No, unfortunately, we don't have that information this time, but it seems that obviously the schools must have been contacted very early this morning. Probably the police, I don't know, to say that the schools had to remain closed and to get the word out to the parents. But it's an absolute disgrace that this has happened. Greg, we've moved away from all this nonsense, and now for this to be happening to cause disruption on a Monday morning to many households, many of the children not going to have their education today. Many parents will probably lose income today that they might have to take off work to make sure that their children are minded at home. So it's just caused widespread disruption, and I totally condemn the actions of this.
Yes, I can imagine, but we don't know the nature of the security threats. I mean, obviously, we've all been alive long enough to understand what it can often mean in a Northern Irish context. But we have right across the island seen over the last year schools closed with similar language. Threats from students being posted in some cases, not actually from the students, but claiming to be, and so on and so forth. So whatever this turns out to be, if it does turn out to be some sort of an online hoax kind of a threat, we really need to start talking about protocols in this regard, because as I say, at least 1 or 2, maybe perhaps 3 schools closed in similar circumstances in Donegal not so long ago.
That's correct, yep.
So I wonder.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. Look, there has to be protocols in place. There has to be something in place. Because if there comes to be a hoax, as you say, from either a student or from whatever, sending an email to school or a phone call or whatever, there does need to be protocols in place, because this could now become an occurrence. Yeah. If some other people get this in their head, say, "Oh, I might do this here to get the school closed today," what some people could be thinking, but. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. That's what everybody's hoping, that this is not credible threats, and hopefully that it is a hoax, and as you say, or things are put in place then going forward.
But for some, the action is disruption, and they've succeeded in that. So whatever needs to be done going forward, we can't have this hanging over us perpetually. Okay, Jason, listen, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it.
No problem, Greg.
Okay,
thank you. Bye-bye.
Councillor Jason Barr, Independent. And as soon as we get any further information, and I'm sure the councillor is the same, we'll get it out to you.
Applications are now open for the 2025 National Lottery Good Causes Award. We spoke to Emma Monaghan, Communications Executive from the National Lottery, about the awards which celebrate the inspiring work and achievements of projects, clubs and individuals from all over Ireland.
I really can't recommend entering the Good Causes Awards enough. It provides a national and local platform for our good causes to share their stories and the amazing work that they do. There are 7 categories in sport, health and wellbeing, arts and culture, heritage, community, youth and the Irish language. And no matter how big or small your organisation is, we really want to hear from you. There is also prize money on offer, so winners in each category can share in the €135,000 prize fund available across all categories, which could greatly support your ongoing work. All you need to do is head to our website. Everything will be there. Please bear in mind that the closing date is 5 p.m. on the 4th of April.
Check your eligibility and enter today at lottery.ie/Good Causes Awards. The National Lottery. Support responsibly.
Are you looking for a powerful, high-performance laptop? Think green and save big with Ben Sweeney Euronics. Discover refurbished Lenovo ThinkPads that look and feel like new with Windows 11 pre-installed and a rock-solid 3-year warranty for total peace of mind. Why pay full price when you can save up to 70% and do your part for the planet by choosing sustainable tech? Find yours today at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre, Dunlow.
With the phasing out of R32 refrigerant and heat pumps, discover next generation comfort with the new award-winning Grant Airona R290 heat pump, delivering exceptional performance with quiet operation. The Grant Airona R290, heating for the future. Think heating, think Grant. Visit grant.ie.
Want to keep your brain and eyes at their best? Try Remind, the super strength omega-3 supplement backed by Irish science. Remind's unique formula with carotenoids and 900 milligrams of omega-3s delivers essential nutrients for brain and vision health. And to see how your nutrient levels measure up, try the Life Meter scan. Available this April at Healthwise pharmacies. In just 1 minute, a quick fingertip scan provides valuable health insights. Book your free Life Meter test and support your brain and eyes with Remind.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Discover trending new styles each week in fashion, footwear, accessories, homeware and more. Visit us to explore the latest arrivals in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Okay, so it's been a largely dry and good sunny morning, hasn't it? It'll continue that way, though some cloud may drift in later this afternoon, turning the sun a little hazy, and there will be isolated spells of patchy light rain, not too much about, over the next couple of days. Temperatures 12 to 14 degrees after that really quite chilly start. Scandalous from the government, says the listener. Not really surprised, though. Nice big headlines, but no substance. Every day there's a new lie, whether it's not hitting housing targets or failing our children, believes one listener. Pierce Doherty always says the right thing and highlights a lot of great points like insurance, etc. But why does his work never yield any results? We need action, not words. Not downing him, but he does great work. But why does the bad stuff keep happening that he highlights? I totally agree with Pierce Doherty. My 7-year-old grandson is autistic and lacks so many services. This is typical of big government promises before an election with absolutely no substance to it. But let's hope and keep our fingers crossed that there was some miscommunication and that money will be forthcoming sooner rather than is later. Right, okay. There was an awful story in the papers. A Dublin man who died, just 49, from an infection after a dog licked an open wound on his leg. This was heard in an inquest. The man's pet beagle was likely the cause of sepsis, which resulted in the man's death, the coroner's court heard. And a coroner has advised members of the public to observe general hygiene around pets after the inquest's findings. Kathleen Murray is a dog expert and a dog lover. Good morning, Kathleen.
Good morning, Greg.
Very tragic story, and we often talk about the dangers of dogs, and we often talk of, maybe dog mess and younger children. I wasn't really quite aware that, dog saliva or what might be carried in it could have this kind of an impact on someone. But I suppose when we're talking about sepsis and open wounds, it kind of does make sense.
Yes, that's true. And I remember a very long time ago, many years ago, when I was a child, a lady that I knew, a neighbour, also died from sepsis from a dog bite. A little dog bit her on the ankle, and she died from sepsis as well. It's the open wound, really. People say there's healing in the dogs. What happens is, if a dog gets a cut, they'll lick it to take the initial dirt or whatever off it or whatever. But if it becomes excessive licking and things like that, they can actually infect their own wounds as well. And that's why They have a cone on their head after they get neutered and things to prevent them from licking the wounds and infecting themselves, not to mention pulling out stitches and things. But so there's good and bad news with it. Lots of people have gone through their entire life with dogs, licking them and playing with them and everything, and nothing has ever happened to them. But there are people who are more susceptible, and open wounds are definitely a thing that you have to really take care of. You can't let them get wet and things. You know, you have to really be mindful and follow the doctor's instructions when you've got an open wound. And general hygiene in particular, I mean, you have to consider really, you know, where has that dog's mouth been? Have they just been licking their backside? You know, have they been eating poops? Because lots of cats come into people's gardens and those cats are not wormed or anything at all. And dogs can be licking or eating those poops and things, and then they can get infected themselves.
I wonder,
you know,
do dog owners, and you'll often see, you know, and I'm not judging them in any way, shape, or form, but you'll often see dog owners. They allow their dogs to lick their faces, you know, when they come back from work or something. It's, you know, it's relatively routine, I think. And I do look on sometimes and think it's wonderful, don't get me wrong. But do they know where that tongue has been? And you've mentioned it a little earlier on. That's just dogs. That's what they do. They do that stuff. I wonder, do the owners sort of just accept that because they love the dog so much? Would you let a dog lick your face as a dog lover and expert, Kathleen?
No, I've never allowed dogs to lick my face because dogs can pass worm eggs, they can pass bacteria, all kinds of stuff through your nasal passage and through your mouth and things. It can happen. It might not happen.
Eyeballs, God knows, or anywhere
we've all been brought up with dogs, and as children we ran around with dogs, and half the time we didn't wash our hands and nothing came of it. But for some children, they may have gotten worms. They may have, you know, had problems like that. But in general, it wasn't so bad. But if you observe normal hygiene and just wash your hands after you've been playing with the dog, because remember, dogs show affection by licking.
Yeah.
So it's just licking your mouth and licking your nose and places where things can enter your body, like open wounds and things. That's where the bacteria and infections can get into your body. So the general thing would be, if you don't want them licking your face, you can allow them to lick maybe your arm or something and then go and wash your arm. Or you can lick, you know, sometimes when people wear shorts in the summertime, the dog will lick the back of their legs and things, you know, because dogs like skin and they like licking skin, so that's a normal thing for them to do. And as I say, it is a way of showing affection as well. So you don't have to stop them from licking you altogether, but just be mindful that it's not your face, that it's not your mouth, your nose, as you say, your eyes, you know, places where things can enter. I don't know what it is,
Kathleen, and every time I speak to you, I'm less inclined to get a dog, and I mean that in the nicest possible way.
A lot to think about, Craig.
You know, like, because you bring home the reality of it, but I mean, and for some people, they have the time and they have the space and they have the discipline. But as I say, really, it's not about dogs. It's about, I think, Kathleen, when I speak to you, it's my lack of capacity to be able to do what I should be doing to be treating the animal to its actual best and to its maximum. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, because they need to be wormed regularly, you know, to keep them clean. If you've got a clean dog, you're fine. I mean, dogs have antibacterial, effects on their saliva, but not so much that their bacteria is different to our bacteria. So it's very easy, you know, for us to get infected by things like that. So we have to be very careful when we're around dogs. And if you have your dog wormed properly, if you take care of, make sure they don't have fleas, because remember, when they lick their body and they're grooming themselves as well, you can also get flea dirt on their tongue, you know, and you don't want that entering your system either, like, you know, so you've got to be careful and do the right thing by the dog and keep it clean. You know, mites, ear mites, all kinds of stuff.
And
dogs
as you
can
say
get
quite
all
rightly,
kinds of things.
maybe it's the majority of people would their own defenses will protect them, but you just have to be conscious that in some cases, and probably in this very tragic case, this man that sadly passed away from sepsis, his system was susceptible to whatever might be in the dog's saliva, and it's just to be careful and conscious, but not fearful or what have you. And you framed it perfectly, Kathleen. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Kathleen Murray there, a dog expert. We'll be back with so much more in the 9 till noon show after we take a break, and we'll have a listen to the news and the obituary notices.
It's the holiday of a lifetime. Highland in the Sun 2025. This September 14th to the 21st, we go back to the stunning 4-star Sol Costa Gerada Hotel Saloon for 7 nights dinner, bed and breakfast and lots of great entertainment with some of your favourite acts in Irish country music. Don't delay and book today by contacting Country Music Tours on 074 9119 955 or email info@countrymusictours.ie. Don't miss out on the holiday of a lifetime.
I'm Fionnuala Fibre O'Farrell Flynn, racing across the country to keep up with NBI's fibre rollout. Over 50 broadband providers are using NBI's network to bring high-speed fibre broadband to homes across Ireland. So from Ballyliffin to Ballybuffet, homeowners can pick whatever package suits their needs and still get all the benefits of rural Ireland's dedicated fibre broadband network. Connect at nbi.ie.
NBI is delivering the government's national broadband plan.
Another connection. Oh, I knew I shouldn't have worn heels.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out shaneconleycars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Ready to transform your smile? Discover the magic of Blue Poppy Dental in Letterkenny and Donegal Town. With implantologists, surgical and cosmetic dentists, orthodontists and an endodontist all under one roof, we've got all your dental needs covered. Starting your journey is easy. Call us on 074 91 20355 or book your appointment online anytime through our user-friendly patient portal at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, where smiles shine brighter.
There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €1,700 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
The costs don't stop if you lose your job, so a sudden loss in income can be hard. That's why we are introducing Job Seekers Pay-Related Benefit to help people who have been working and lose their job. This scheme will be available to those who become unemployed from the 31st of March. To find out if you're eligible, visit gov.ie/JPRB. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. A number of schools in Strabane are closed today due to what they say is a security concern. Holy Cross College and Strabane Academy earlier this morning issued messages advising parents not to bring their children to school, and if they already had done, to make arrangements to collect them. Strabane Primary School is understood to be remaining closed also today. The nature of the security concern is unknown at this time. Local councillor Jason Barr is condemning those responsible for the widespread disruption caused right across the town.
Seems that obviously the schools must have been contacted very early this morning. Probably the police, I don't know, to say that the schools had to remain closed and to get the word out to the parents. But it's an absolute disgrace that this has happened. You know, we've moved away from all this nonsense, and now for this to be happening to cause disruption on a Monday morning to many households, many of the children not going to have their education today. Many parents will probably lose income today that they might have to take off work to make sure that their children are minded at home. So it's just caused widespread disruption, and I totally condemn the actions of this.
The government is being urged not to fall into line with the EU when it comes to imposing counter-tariffs on the US. On today's 9 till noon show, Sinn Féin finance spokesperson Piers Doherty said there are other issues at play at a European level with which Ireland has no involvement, and he said the government's first priority must be to protect Irish jobs. The Donegal TD says decisions over the coming weeks will be crucial.
What the government's response should be is don't just fall into line with Europe, because there's other issues at play here, geopolitical, NATO and all the rest that we're not involved in. But we have to protect the interests of the Irish people, Irish jobs, and what we're being told by the Department of Finance and the ESRI is if you support counter-tariffs from Europe as a knee-jerk reaction, what you're going to have is less jobs created, less finances available to fund public services, and our consumers, the Irish people, are going to pay higher for products.
Human remains exhumed from a grave in County Monaghan are not those of a man disappeared by the IRA. Confirmation came from the Independent Commission for the Location of Victims' Remains this morning. With more, here's James Gould.
The search at Aniela Cemetery back in November was set up to find the body of Joe Linsky, a former monk from the Beachmount area of West Belfast. Mr. Linsky later joined the IRA and went missing in 1972. He became one of the 17 people executed and secretly buried by the IRA. The ICLVR says it knows the news will be deeply disappointing for his family.
The Irish Road Haulage Association claims barriers at toll booths are wasting millions of euro worth of diesel. It claims trucks having to stop and start is costing drivers over €26 million on wasted fuel. The association says its members are paying more in wasted diesel than on toll fields every day, and is renewing its call to have toll booths removed completely. 27 community groups in Donegal are to share €166,000 in funding from the SSE Renewables Meenty-Cat Community Fund. The fund distributes funding from 2 wind farms in Donegal for a variety of energy-efficient and sustainable projects. Among those benefiting from this round of funding are Donegal Mountain Rescue, Convoy Community and Environmental Committee, Termon GAA and Deal College. Since 2007, the group says community groups in Donegal have received €1.6 million from SSE Renewables. And questions are being asked over who has responsibility for the emptying of council-owned litter bins in Donegal. It comes after a bin at a picnic area on Muff Greenway in recent days was overflowing with nappies and dog fouling bags left strewn across the ground. Councillor Terry Crossan is seeking clarity as to whether responsibility lies with the roads or environmental sections of Donegal County Council. He says additional bins are also needed across the area. Councillor Crossan says not only are overflowing bins unsightly, but they also give rise to environmental concerns.
It's very unsightly that you would have a bin overflown, and not only overflown, but then you have a accumulation of dog poo bags. I would like it emptied more often. I would like more bins positioned on the Greenway, and I would like to see them emptied on a regular basis, because it's a reflection on the county council if these bins aren't emptied properly and regularly.
Chilly this morning, but largely dry with good sunny spells developing. Some cloud drifting in later in the afternoon, turning the sun a little hazy. Patchy light rain developing later as well. Highest temperatures 12 to 14 degrees Celsius in light winds. More cloud pushing in this evening with patchy light rain at times. Lowest temperatures today 7 to 9 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with local headlines again at 11 o'clock. Check all of the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The Obituary notice says for this Monday morning, March the 24th. The death has taken place of Dr. Tony Boner, Hornhead, Dunfanaghy, County Donegal. His remains will be reposing at his late residence in Hornhead this afternoon from 3 o'clock. Funeral Mass in Holy Cross Church, Dunfanaghy on Wednesday at 12 noon. Burial afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. Mass can be viewed live on mcn.live. Family time please from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock and on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or James Harkin, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Mary Donaghy, née Gallagher, Mahara Corn, Convoy. Wake today from 11 o'clock until 10 o'clock. Funeral leaving her late residence tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church Convoy at 11 o'clock, interment in the Old Cemetery. Family time on the morning of the funeral, please. The death has taken place of Eugene Gillen, Corky, Manor Cunningham, reposing at the residence of his sister Mary and Phil Devaney, 15 Father Arnold Terrace, Manor Cunningham. Funeral Mass this morning at 11 o'clock in the Church of All Saints at Newton Cunningham. Burial afterwards in Drummahall Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time before the funeral this morning. Family flowers only, donations if desired to ICU, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Patrick Sweeney, Funeral Directors. And the death has occurred of Bridget Lynch, 26 St Joseph's Park, Buncrana. Requiem Mass this morning at 11 o'clock at St Mary's Church, Cockhill, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House is strictly private before the funeral this morning. Family flowers only. Funeral can be viewed on churchservices.tv. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
The perfect recipe for a surprise Mother's Day brunch. 3 kids and 2 eggs adds up to 1 messy kitchen. And a great Mother's Day. Treat her with Aldi's specially selected free-range eggs, just $2.29. And our specially selected fresh orange juice, only $2.59. As for the mess in the kitchen, no bother. Dad'll sort it. Good food, good mood. From Aldi.
Cooney's Home Interiors huge spring sale now on. Massive discounts as we clear stock. Reclining sofa was $2,097, now $1,299. Table and 4 chairs was $795, now $499. 20% off in-stock mattresses. 5-foot bed deal $599, includes headboard, base and mattress. Cushions and sheets only €5. Don't miss out. Sale ends April 30th. Treat yourself to a bargain at the spring sale in Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny Retail Park.
You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning to you. Just an event I want to mention for you. It's coming up next month on April the 19th. Neve Michael Community 5K Run, Walk and Coffee Morning. As I mentioned, it's on Saturday, April 19th at 11 a.m. The Bridge Dunfanaghy, registration at the clubhouse from 10 a.m. And it's supporting Cassie's journey. They're fundraising to help support the cost of Cassie's essential cancer treatment and associated costs in Utrecht. Where is that? Sorry, that must be somewhere foreign. I beg your pardon. I should have read that first, shouldn't I? It's in Holland, actually. That makes sense. The treatment for Cassie is no longer available in Ireland. Cassie will undergo a bone marrow transplant with the help of her brother Michael as her donor, and you're being invited to join Neve Michael for their 5K fundraiser, followed by a coffee morning. If you can't join, please consider donation. And there's a link on my Facebook page as well. So Cassie's treatment is no longer available in Ireland, and she's going to Holland with the support of course, her family and the local community. So if you want to do your bit, please go along to the Neve Michael Community 5K Run, Walk and Coffee Morning. It's on Saturday the 19th of April at 11 a.m. So stick that in your diary there. And if you want to donate, if you can't get along to that, it's on the Neve Michael page, but I've also shared it on my personal Facebook page as well. Also, we heard it launched last week, and Highland Radio back working with our great friends at Foy & Company to give you the chance to transform your home with the €10,000 home makeover draw plus 10k in cash. So it's got a value of 20,000 overall. Now, this is one I wish I could enter because I have a big hole for this €10,000 home makeover, but I can't enter it because I work here. So what would you do with €20,000 to refresh your space? Maybe new furniture, a coat of paint, even a complete makeover with the type of money we're talking here. And to win, all you have to do is buy a ticket at highlandradio.com. You click on Win a Home Makeover and answer a simple question. Then you can choose a single ticket for €15 or 5 for 50. You can enter today and make your dream a reality. So one ticket for 15, you can get them for a tenner each. A nice wee gift or something to treat yourself with. And it's in association with Foy & Company. 20k total, €10,000 of a home makeover draw, plus €10,000 in cash. And the closing date's just the 16th of April, and that draw will be live and around the Northwest with John Breslin. So if you want to have a wee punt, there you go. You can do so. Feel free to do so. Pierce really does talk a lot. My car insurance has doubled in the years that Pierce has been talking about insurance premiums. We never see in action. This is so frustrating. The whole insurance industry is frustrating, and there's been a few posts similar to this relating to some of the comments that Pierce Doherty's made there. I don't want to insert myself into it because I don't want to sound like I'm favouring one organisation, one party over the other. There's only so much you can do in opposition. I'm sure he would argue that you raise the issues, you make the changes, but then there's other departments and governments that are supposed to maybe follow through in that. I'm sure that's what he would say if he were here. Maybe someone who's opposed to Sinn Féin might say it's just easy to talk, isn't it, when you're not in power. If you have a 10-year driving licence, it's worth checking the expiry. I can't speak today. Do you know that? You ever get one of those days you wake up and your just head is foggy? Maybe it's an age thing. If you have a 10-year driving licence, it's worth checking the expiry date, as they do not send you a reminder. I talked to a couple of people lately, one of which was so out of date they have to do a theory and driving test again. Where's my wallet? I think I got mine relatively recently. We all have a moral imperative to stop the slaughter and horrific annihilation of the children, women and men of Palestine, which is being supported by the US, the UK and Europe. There is a river of innocent children's blood flowing in Gaza, and we all know about it. Now we need to act, says a listener. Drumbow Respite House has been closed for the past 5 years. Ballymacool House is where people are now being sent. Children and adults are sharing these services. I think it's 1 week on, 1 week off rather than at the same time, unless I'm mistaken. But this caller says, I was supposed to get respite in February and it was cancelled due to an adult in crisis. I need respite for my 4 children, and this is the first time in 5 years that I've even got an offer. And I remember that case. I'm not sure if... because this is a shared space, there was an adult in crisis, and that meant the week for the younger people was no longer available. Has that situation been resolved? What happens in that instance? Are you given, I suppose maybe your respite that you needed was time sensitive and that's been lost? Let me know a little bit more about that if you feel it would be in the public interest to know. Greg, it was a bit... oh, by the way, before I read this, Brendan Devaney is going to be joining us after 11 o'clock as we preview the podcast, of course, the DL debate, which is live after 7 o'clock. Really interested in your views, I suppose, on Derry and Tyrone are gone out of the First Division. I mean, Derry were being tipped last year as perhaps All-Ireland contenders. And who's to say maybe they are this year? I don't know. But Tyrone finished ahead of Armagh, didn't they, effectively on points scored, the plus-minus, but they had a head-to-head earlier in the campaign and are relegated as a result. Donegal are not contesting the final. What do you think of the league? What do you think of the new rules? And what do you think of Donegal's chances, I suppose, in Derry, in the Ulster opener, but I suppose as it relates to a run in the championship this year? I'm going to be asking Brendan Devaney, and he's going to be talking about it, I'm sure, on the show this evening as well. So if you have any commentary in relation to sport, maybe even if you want to talk about the football from last night, Ireland recording back-to-back victories, albeit against the same team for the first time in a long time. But the odds were very much stacked in their favour going into that game, given the record against Bulgaria, wasn't it? But anyway, Greg, it was a bit surprising and maybe disappointing to see a Donegal supporter saying, thank God we're not in a league final. Are we that well blessed with national titles that we can afford to turn our nose up at a final in Croke Park? Not so long ago, we'd have been delighted. I know that the final is only a week before the Derry game, but what is the point of entering a competition if you don't want to win it? Maybe the league needs a revamp. Maybe start it a bit earlier or scrap the final altogether with the team who gets the most points declared the winner. That's the obvious decision. Why have a final? It was very exciting going into that game last night, or going into the games yesterday. Any team could have won it. If you were watching or keeping a track of as they stand right now, there was lots going on across all 4 divisions. There was only really 2 teams, Derry being one of them, as far as I'm aware, that was relegated. So there was lots going on with the excitement of the final day of a league. There's no need, I don't believe anyway, there's no need for a league final. Mayo won it. They put more into it. They had the fewest defeats. They ran out winners on the day. They won the league, and all games were on at the same time. TG Carr did an amazing job in showing all the games on YouTube. And it was fantastic, actually, because when it's on YouTube, it's very easy for me to align the commentary from Brendan and Oisín. But my point being is it was an exciting end to the league. Mayo have won the league. I don't think if Kerry beat Mayo, it's silly. It's silly. But that doesn't matter. I'm just an armchair fan. What do you think? The listener, I think, has answered the question in their text here. Why doesn't the team that gets the most points be declared the winner. But they go on to say finally that something needs to be done when the second national competition is a little thought of as it seems to be now. What it is now is just a series of warm-up games for the championship. I don't see it as that. I really enjoyed the league. I liked the format, and I liked yesterday. I liked tracking who was going to win. What I don't like is the final at the end of it. I don't see the point. I think it is for the sponsors. It's for the big day out. And I think it's completely pointless. But what do you think? 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. All right, it is the 9 till noon show here in Highland. And we've loads more coming up. Let's just take a quick break for the bingo numbers. Good luck if you're playing today.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 24th of March. You're playing on the green sheet for the daily prize of €1,000. The reference number is S1. It's game number 13. The numbers are 12, 69, 11, 52, 60, 68, 82, 14, 90, and finally 75. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Buying or moving home can be a strange mixture of excitement and stress. So the last thing you need is worrying about conveyancing. Time to call McElhenney and Associates. They'll move that property transaction along swiftly, make sure everything's in order, and prevent any nasty surprises. Residential, commercial, leasing, or voluntary transfer. Call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. We'll do the paperwork, you do the wallpaper. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help?
At Restex Beds, we are celebrating 50 incredible years in business. And we are introducing our brand new Glenveigh mattress, comfort that's as legendary as our half-century legacy. Experience 50 years of bedding excellence at Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Restex Beds, leave the rest to us.
At Fleming's, we take great pride in having provided quality steel and roofing to all our customers throughout Ireland since 1860.
Tell them about the doors, John.
Okay, Mike. We also provide a full quality range of
doors, industrial doors, garage doors, roller doors, insulated doors.
Thanks for that, Mike.
No dramas, mate.
Fleming's, engineering solutions for 150 years. Call us now on 074 91 48 234.
Discover the magic of Malta with Aer Lingus. For an unforgettable blend of culture and breathtaking landscapes, Malta is the perfect place to explore, and our flights are the perfect way to get there. Plus, bring a 10 kg checked bag with you. Book your trip today at aerlingus.com. Aer Lingus, you're very welcome.
Okay, Kieran McCarran's a personal trainer, and he joins us in the studio right now. Kieran, thanks so much for calling up. How are you keeping?
Good morning, Craig. Yeah, not too bad.
That's good. It's good to have you with us. And you are joining the calls of many people that we've heard from Derry calling for a detox centre. The call has been ongoing for a couple of decades now at this stage. And we'll talk as to why, you know, really the conversation has been reignited a little bit. But you have your own understanding of this as well, and you know, how you can be in a bad position in your life, and then how you can sort of get out of that bad position, because it's important that that people understand there is hope and there's pathways.
Well, that's why I'm here. Like, I'm just looking to give hope to people. As you say, if you touched on there that I've had my own struggles over the last few years. I've actually, in hindsight, been dealing with addictions for probably the last 10 to 15 years. But over time, the recreational side of things has left, and it's become a habit. And then over the last year or two, I found myself I was using Pret way too much, basically on every 20 minutes, basically. And obviously, when you're doing that, the rest of your life starts spiraling out of control, and I just basically lost everything in the process.
And did you were you consciously sort of getting into stuff, if you know what I mean? Like, was it about availability, peer groups, friends group, the accessibility of I don't know, was it drugs or alcohol? Kieran, I only want you to talk about what you're comfortable talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, when you're growing up, there's a certain peer pressure, the society. Now, I'm not sure what it was like when you were growing up, but drink was a lot more. Drink's a lot more acceptable. Drink is a glorified drug.
Mm-hmm.
It's just accepted. That is a fact. Okay, drink will ruin families more than anything.
Yeah.
But it's accepted in our culture. It's accepted in society. Monkey see, monkey do.
Well, everything. I mean, maybe it's changing a little bit now, but everything, whether it's someone being born, whether it's someone dying, whether it's someone getting married, whether it's someone getting christened,
drink.
You know, whether we're celebrating a sporting event.
Yeah.
You know, as I was growing up, and as I say, perhaps it's changing now, drink was the ever-present. It was the norm.
Yeah,
it is the norm. I think it still is to some extent, Kieran.
You go into any shop after 10 o'clock, you can get drink. And that's a lot of how a lot of people's days start. They're waiting for the off license to open and away to go. But I just want to touch back on the peer pressure side of things. So when you're growing up and you're out and we all socialise, we all drink and whatever, eventually, a lot of... I'm trying to word what I'm trying to get to here is... peer.
No, it's all right, Kieran. Listen... Maybe we'll get through it just through the course of the conversation. It is hard to put your finger on it. The thing I think with drink is this, Kieran, is that some people perhaps are really lucky and they can have a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
Right? And then I think there's others that binge drink and they have 2 terrible days afterwards where they feel depressed, they feel useless or what have you. And then on the 3rd day, they rise again effectively and they head towards the weekend. And then there are people that drink all of the time. And that it's you know what I mean, and you don't know if you're looking for your next drink or you just finished your last drink. But there's there's very little out there to sort of guide us, I think, especially when we're very much younger.
Yeah, well, you should be educated in schools properly about this, certain subjects anyway. If everything's changing now, schools and stuff should change as well. We should be educated a lot more when it comes to drinking, drugs, and even social media. But I want to talk about my own experiences on this subject.
Please,
about peer pressure and stuff. When you're growing up, or you're growing around with certain circles, and as you say, drink. Now, some people can have a drink and go to bed. Others need to drink the second day. Some people need 2 or 3 days. And then, as you said, you're lying in bed then for 3 or 4 days, and it's just a vicious circle. A minute you feel better, you're ready, and you're going again. Now, over time, you're creating a certain habit of that. So 3 days on it, 4 days off it, 3 days on it. Then
and you're not an alcoholic, surely, because you don't need to drink for 4 days.
No,
that's what you're saying in your head, right?
It's a dependency, you know. A lot of people I know as well, and this is from my own experience growing up, 16, 17, I needed a drink for confidence. I needed that drink so I could go out and talk. I used to be a really shy lad, you know, you would have talked with Redner if a girl said hello to you or whatever. So you were getting those drinks, Andy, to go out and socialise. And then again, that's the same as... the other fixes, the other drugs out there that you're using, your cocaines or whatever. Again, you're taking that and it gives you this newfound belief and newfound confidence, and you're away and you're chatting to everything. But how long does that last? The higher you go, the harder you fall.
Yeah.
Now, when you're lying and when you're out at the weekends and you're doing those things, and you comes to a Monday and none of your friends are around you, and it's a dark, dark, dark place. Again, now with drink, you can have a wee drink to help relax yourself. So what I started doing on Monday morning was taking a wee bumper here and there just to get through the day. Now that is a bad idea. I was using that almost for to galvanise myself to get energy to get through the day.
You talked too about the availability of alcohol. You know, after 10 o'clock it's available anywhere. Unfortunately nowadays there is, and we've seen it with this with the drug and drink driving statistics and other things. Drugs are as easy now to get your hands on if you're in the right WhatsApp groups or on Snapchat. You know what I mean? That a lot of people out there would know if they needed or wanted to get their hands on cocaine or something, they know how to get it.
I just had a conversation with my mugger David yesterday. You always get it. You will always get that drink or drugs. Even if you don't have money, you will get it somehow. Now, a lot of people were writing on my social media and stuff about you need to cut the head off the snake. We need to find out who's supplying the drugs. We'll never stop that.
The web is too complex.
We have online now. You can go online now and message anybody on the dark web or Telegram or whatever around the world. It doesn't have to be in Derry, Donegal. It can be anywhere, and that'll be on your post the next day. So the biggest drug runners is actually the post.
But so you were. Do you have an addictive personality?
I have a very addictive personality, and that's something I want to talk about on here. So I have addictive personality, and I identified that when I was quite young. You know, when I put myself to something, I just was all in for it. Again, drinking drugs. When you start doing that, that's all you want to do. You want to go out the weekend, you start chasing that high. So what I did here over the last year, 8 months, sorry, when I got to a really dark place. Now, people say rock bottom. There's rock bottom. There's not. There's another layer way below that I didn't even know existed. What I mean by that is when you're lying there for 7 months and don't want to leave a house, or 5 days without getting a shower, or no food in the fridge, or electric's buzzing, that's where I'm at. And your mental health, like no one, you have no family or nothing. That's when things start to get drastic.
And the funny thing, and I want you to talk a little bit more about that, what people maybe sometimes don't realise about when you're in that space is even if you do have family and friends around you, or even if people like you, or even if things should seem good, you're in your own head. And you can actually feel like that those people don't care, or you don't matter, or what have you. It is, and everyone's different, but sometimes people go, that person was so lucky, how could they do this, that and done? But when you are in the depths of it, you are locked in your own head with yourself, and that's just the facts.
It's a mental warfare.
Yeah, and you know, unless you find a way out of that, or get out of that, or you seek help, or you have a chat to someone, or someone sees something in you, you are in that space in your own head. And in your situation, it could be that you're in there for 7 months. Are you depressed at that point? How do you know when you talk about how you're in? You know, you're not showering for 5 days, right? Is it also that has the addiction led to a depression? Depression
is the main. That's it. When you're addicted to yourself, and every time you're up here, you're dropping back down, and obviously it leads to depression, and obviously mental health and drugs go hand in hand. Now, does drugs lead to mental health, or does mental health lead to drugs?
Well, I think anyone who suffers from anxiety at any level,
I suffer from anxiety myself,
and anyone who is and anyone who mood can drop, whether it's clinical depression or not, stay away from the highs.
Yeah.
And I mean the casual highs. I don't necessarily mean the lines of coke highs, because I'll tell you, if you suffer with anxiety or depressed mood like that, the horrors and the hangovers or the come downs will be multiples of what in inverted commas normal person feels.
Yeah, you're 100%
so if you have that, if you feel like that, don't go through near the highs, because the downs are going to kill you.
It's funny you touching that, because some of the lads that I speak to on the group, most of the lads I speak to all have ADHD and stuff. Most of them all have it. You know, all addictive personalities seem to have the same trait, ADHD. A lot of people undiagnosed with that as well, going into their adulthood.
There's a lot of adults getting that diagnosed with ADHD, and all of a sudden things start to make sense.
Yeah.
So you go ahead.
Craig,
no,
I
Kieran?
just want to touch on it, because on the way down here, I would say the last time I did this interview over the phone. Okay, so on the way down here now, I've sort of had got inside my own head a wee bit, so a wee bit anxious. So I just want to put that out there. Starting to relax a wee bit now.
You're doing brilliant, Kieran. Chill yourself. You're doing great.
I just want to relax, and I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. So I do want to talk about my own experiences and stuff of where I came from and how we got to be here. So obviously I was down and out, and we touched on that a bit. Drugs, whatever you want to call it. It was a bad place. So I started going out walks. I started thinking about I became to hate the actual drugs, and I hated myself so much that I needed to change. So I went back to the things that I used to love doing, and I love a walk. I love going to walk. So I started getting up on a Monday morning, and I mind going out to walk, and it was like cheaper. In fact, you got to be honest, I was actually going out and I was still having a wee smoking that morning, but I was going out and I was clearing my head. After about 4 weeks in, that smoke wasn't there anymore. And these walks started to give me, every time I was coming back from the walks, I was just so clear. Before you know it, then I started going back to the gym. And then I wasn't using it at all. After about 4 or 5 weeks, there was no cocaine, no drugs or nothing like that. And I started to realise that the walks in the gym I was starting to get addicted to that, starting to create new habits. So dishing my old habits for the old habits that I used to have, that were actually becoming new habits. So what I'm trying to say is, anybody who is in a dark place, or we all loved something before, we all had this addiction, why don't we go back to maybe trying to do that and see where that leads to? But for anybody really struggling, today's Monday, it's a new week, it's the last week of a month. You're listening to this now and you're like procrastinating about a walk. Get the shoes on, go out a walk, take an hour, and I guarantee you won't feel worse. So it's just about creating those new habits for anybody.
But also to your new lifestyle sustainable.
I think
you know what I mean?
It's really sustainable.
You can go out for a walk if you want to on a Monday morning, or if you go, stuff this And then go for another walk if you want.
I went out that walk there this morning at 6 o'clock. It's beautiful out there. Now, the sun, it was absolutely beautiful. Clear-headed and everything. Now, that's a Monday morning that I would have been lying in my bed or still on it. You're missed out and all that stuff. But again, I want to sort of touch back on what I was talking about there. So those habits that I've created, I started doing that, and then I started to realise I put my story out there, and people started messaging me. Now, it was one message the first week, then it was 20 messages. Before you knew it, there was hundreds and hundreds of messages coming through from people with the same problems as me. Now, the reason why I started doing it is everybody in Derry, now, whether they say it or not, people have an opinion of me. I wouldn't say I'm the most popular lad, but everybody kind of knows me. So they knew what I was about and what I was doing over the last number of years. And I went from a really good place to a really bottom place, and a lot of people had a lot to say about it. So I wanted to put my story out there to show that there's hope for anybody. Because, as I say, most lads anyway in Derry know where I came from and know what I was about over the last number of years, what I was getting up to. So for them, as they see me in that such a dark place and me speaking up, then that does give hope, because there's actually two wee lads from a bog down my area, which is Shane and Ryan, who I just want to mention them because they stopped me in the street about 3 weeks ago and said to me that, you know, they're actually at the group now, that listening to my videos is giving them loads and loads of hope. They went from 600 milligram per gallon to 200 every day, and now they're down in the groups with me. And you want to see them, they look like two different men. Like, so for that alone,
that's two people, and there's more. But
it's just there's so much. I just want to give people hope.
How did you have any issue coping with other people's problems? Because really, you know, you're still on your own journey, right? And the inbox is popping. You can't help everyone. Some of them might be quite desperate comments. How have you dealt with that?
I don't have the resources to help anyone. All I can do is open up. I've offered the people to come to the gym on a Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Saturday 12 noon, and Sunday 11 a.m. It's open for anybody. If you're lonely, addicted, struggling with addiction, any trauma, just come on. Don't have to be from Derry. You can be from Donegal as well. Anywhere, you can be from anywhere. Yeah, cool. What was the question again, Greg?
No, I was just wondering how you started coping with lots of people telling them their dire situation. Because you're still coming through your own.
It was quite overwhelming at the start. All I just messaged them back is basically just tell them if you're serious about it, come down to the group and we'll take it from there.
What else can you do?
Because it's a lot of information. There is all our help out there. You have Arc Fitness and stuff in Derry, the Northland Centre and stuff. I've went all there myself, but it's getting people to go in. People don't understand. People say people don't want the help. That's not true. People want the help. It's getting it. You have to be clean. Yeah. You need to be clean. And again,
but the road's always
we're
there.
We're here to talk about the detox centre. We don't have a detox centre in Derry.
Well, exactly. I want to understand what the benefit of the detox centre would be, Kieran. And the campaign has been reignited again for a detox centre. But what does that look like? What would that give people in Derry that's not there?
Well, what we don't have is we can't walk in off a street like a crisis. Now, as I say, I'm not the brightest spark in the thing, so I'm not the most intellectual. But if you went to A&E and you have you're submarine, you go to a hospital and you're in a crisis and you're going to die. There's a possibility you're going to die tomorrow or tonight or whatever. You're kept in. Yeah. You're not getting out. Now, what happens if I walk into somewhere and I say to them, due to drugs that I'm using, and if I'm going to die tonight if I don't get access to this drug, or I'm going to kill myself or whatever. How come I can walk back out that door? If that is a crisis, I should be kept in. I shouldn't be let go. That's for me. There's nowhere you can walk in at the minute and not leave and be there for 6 to 12 weeks with a team of experts looking after you, whether it's counselling, your medication. There's nothing like that.
And what we don't know is the lives lost. I mean, people will, and it's right across this country, people will know little individual cases, right? But we probably don't have a real sense of how many, probably mostly young people and probably mostly young men, but not exclusively, that we have lost through suicide or what have you, or drugs overdose, or that they're there and are probably screaming out for the help, either out loud or internally.
Oh, there definitely is.
We owe them, don't we?
We owe it's a duty of care to these people. Like it is a duty of care. Now, people say people don't want the help. If anybody came down to my group and spoke to a few of those lads, then you would see that people want the help. It's just giving them the tools and guiding them the right way. Again, it's just really, if you walk through the town in Derry at the moment, in the city centre of Derry, and take a look around you, just for 5 minutes, the age of the people with addictions now at the minute in the city, you're talking 15 and 16 and 17. We've never seen that before. No. It's unheard of. There's not going to be any youth left in 10 years' time now. That's people listening, it's children I'm talking about. Like, whoever has these earphones on now, like, listen to us, or in the car, or wherever you are. This is your children I'm talking about. They're not going to grow up if things keep going the way they're going.
And also, too, the one thing we've seen with, wars that are happening around the world is the aftercare. So, say, for instance, hopefully the situation in Ukraine is resolved, right? But it's going to bring with it a wave of PTSD, trauma, and all that kind of stuff that will be there for generations and generations. And I would have no doubt that whilst the troubles, as we know them, thankfully are behind us in Northern Ireland, that there is lasting trauma there, generational trauma.
Of course, generational trauma, now that's something I was going to talk about, but it kind of went over my head when I came through the door.
That's what I'm here for, buddy. Kieran, that's what I'm here for, my friend.
So obviously, trauma, troubles, it's no doubt, no coincidence. Derry was one of the biggest places affected in Northern Ireland by the troubles, Bloody Sunday, etc. So it's had a knock-on effect. So back during the troubles, there was Derry was actually the highest rate of, I think it was diazepam or something at the time during the troubles.
Yeah.
In Europe, the whole of Europe. So that there's you going to doctors and that's drugs being handed out. Now this here has a domino effect. So obviously then our parents have grew up with trauma, and whether they've turned to drink or drugs, and then again it's monkey see and monkey do. Yeah. So it is, you're right, it's definitely. Now,
and diazepam is a sticky plaster. That's not addressing the issues. That's
it's not.
Just,
but if you, on that subject as well, we are talking about the detox centre here now in Derry at the moment. Now if you go to Oma, to the detox centre, it's all Derry people. It's 90%.
I've heard that already.
Derry,
yeah.
And Donegal, etc.
Why they haven't traveled?
Is that not enough alone? Like, we have to travel to Oma for a detox centre when it's full of Derry people. The reason being is because I think Derry has actually the most impacted city in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. So that's why the numbers are so high here.
Yeah. Well, as I say, we talk about the potential for generational trauma in places that have seen conflict elsewhere, but we don't talk about it here.
Again, it's politics, isn't it? It's all politics.
I think sometimes, Kieran, the powers that be with the best will in the world don't want to identify issues that are complicated to fix. Yeah. So if you so like, does society care about the 15 and 16-year-olds that you talk of that are addicts now?
No, because
we should
just look at them as like a stain in society.
But we just let it. We just walk past, right, and look elsewhere. That shouldn't happen.
No.
And maybe that's, maybe we as the people too need to take a bit more of a responsibility on this.
Yeah, again, it's just your human side of it.
Like, if every person in Derry, when a politician calls at their door in a run up to election, said, "That's fine, I'll vote for you, but we need a detox centre," it probably would happen. So right. We do all, I think politicians have their role, the NHS, HSC have their role, community groups have their role, you do, I do, but the general, we as a people do. Because
no one actually owns the detox campaign, as you said, it's been running well before me or anybody else came along. So as us doing it all as individuals clearly isn't getting anywhere.
Yeah. And I think you have I think also too you're looking at it with a good set of eyes walking through Derry, because you can recognise what maybe I couldn't recognise. For instance.
Yeah, you see it. Even if I was talking to somebody now face to face, I would know if they were on a substance. I'd just identify it now like that, which is scary because I'd say nearly every 5 to 10 foot from me now someone using something.
Yeah,
it's quite scary.
A couple of callers are actually pointing out the fact that, what you were talking about, what we were talking about, undiagnosed ADHD or ADHD in adults, and that rather than it being diagnosed or treated as such, we're dishing out antidepressants left, right and centre, and statistically, unfortunately, that is actually proven to be the case. Antidepressants are seen as the fix-all, not sort of diagnosis and treatment or cognitive behaviour therapy. It's just give people tick-over medicine.
Yeah, well, if I had that firsthand myself,
yeah,
I'm actually on Sedulin at the moment myself, 150 milligram a day. As you say, they're just throwing in. That they didn't help me. they might have suppressed, made me less emphatic or whatever. I don't even know the word I'm looking for.
I think less, maybe. I
just didn't have. Well, what I'm trying to say,
less obsessive or less.
They didn't really help me. They didn't fix anything. What actually helped me was putting things into actions. Those walks is what changed my life. I can't explain it, but I feel like where I went to, it's hard to explain this time. I came out of this with a different mindset. I feel like I have no cravings, no nothing at the moment. I am a lucky person. I know that because I feel like I've been completely reborn. I feel like someone's put me here now. They guide me. They try and help other people. As silly as that sounds, I know some of my friends will go, what's he on about?
Well, you'll win them around. But it's like those two lads. I mean, the proof of the pudding, the two lads you talked of who reducing their dependency.
Oh, there's even more. See in that group, I would love.
I mean, just as an example, those two, they're going down a similar path to you. They're reducing their dependency, and they probably now see hope of not being dependent on anything. Without you sharing your story, that wouldn't happen. So it's demonstrable that, you speaking publicly is helping other people. It's not. Your mate's going to have to deal with it.
Now, obviously, when I started putting my journey out there, and it was for my own accountability. It was for my own accountability, so I could get up the next day, they took another story up, and thinking that there's eyes on me within it. So you're right. It's just getting people the tools. They get the hope and get out and do the walks and stuff.
And when you were up and then you were down and come back to prove to other people, which you mentioned a little early, that you can come back.
I just want to touch on a lad from my group again. I know I keep going back to the group, but this is there is one lad who I wish he was sitting here beside me today to tell his story, to be honest. Now, this lad was given his last rites and all by drink. He has barely any function in his liver anymore. I hope he doesn't mind, not going to name dropping, but I know he'll be listening. For me, he's a big ass inspiration to me alone. When someone gets their last rites and that's down and out, you want to see him now. Now this group has given him a new purpose. He is flying, like he doesn't even look like the same man. He's actually starting to get muscles and all now. And personally, he's said to me that this group has basically saved his life. So that one is the big one for me.
Back from the brink.
Back from the brink. This man was dead. This man wasn't front. This man was actually gone. Like, so for him to come back, it just shows you that there is hope.
I just think, Kieran, I think you're doing great stuff. I think though, people like yourself and all, we need the support of our institutions, our organisations. Obviously, the stats are there yourself, plain and simple. Anecdotally, 90% of those in a detox centre in Omagh from Derry, Donegal, that clearly means we need one up here in the northwest, right?
It does, yeah.
It doesn't go any better than that. But also, too, people like you need to be supported in trying to reach men, because people talk about, it's all this chat is about, like, and I don't want to get into it, but toxic influences on young fellas, right? And it is a thing. Rather than constantly cribbing about that, let's back people like you who aren't toxic influences on young fellas, that are positive influences.
That's
Do you get me?
You see, and I know exactly what you mean, because obviously me talking about this is taboo subject. It's really opened up the doors for other people to come out and talk about it as well, and then that's helping them in their recovery as well.
All right, Kieran, listen, I know you're going to go up the road. I'm going to say, bloody hell, I didn't mention that, but I think we got to most of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I wanted to touch on, but as I said, coming up the road, I got inside my own head, so I was a wee bit nervous, so I do apologise for that.
Part of it,
but the main thing is Derry does need a detox centre. We are on its knees. There's a serious drug epidemic in the town. And if you don't think so, when you're a politician, take a wee walk down through William Street now, and you'll see it for first hand.
10:45 in the morning.
10:45 in the morning.
All right,
and you will see it first hand.
I think that's a sobering and good place to leave it. Kieran McCann, PT, well done. Keep doing what you're doing, and best luck to all the lads that you're working with. We'll be back with more shortly.
Who's watching your home while you're asleep, at work or on holiday? With the Sheridan Security Alarm System, you can be assured of round-the-clock monitoring. Our central monitoring station is on duty 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, monitoring homes and businesses in the northwest for intruder, fire, panic and medical signals, giving you the peace of mind you deserve. Sheridan Security Systems, Bonagee, Letterkenny, protecting what you value most. Call us for a free quotation on 9126 6025.
Cut your business energy costs with cost.ie. We compare top electricity suppliers to find you the best rates, saving you time and money. Simple, fast and hassle-free. Switch today. Call Paul on 086 198 3894.
Want a new car? Think Kia. Call Heron Auto Donegal Town on 074 9722 555. We're excited to offer a fantastic selection of self-charge and plug-in hybrid cars, along with petrol and electric cars. With finance rates starting from an incredible 0% APR and a 7-year warranty, you can drive away today with peace of mind. Call Heron Auto to find your perfect vehicle and experience our commitment to excellence. Drive with confidence. Drive with Heron Auto Donegal Town.
Go full Lidl this Mother's Day. Spoil them with our Board B approved deluxe Irish Angus roasting joint, 19% off, now only $10.49 with Lidl Plus. And say thanks for everything with our beautiful flower bouquets from just $4.99. In store March 27th. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl this Mother's Day.
Beat your personal best with top brands and premium running footwear from Michael Murphy Sports. There's new arrivals from Asics, New Balance, Brooks, Adidas and Under Armour in a range of structured and neutral styles. Get free next day delivery on orders over €85. Find your perfect pair and reach peak performance with michaelmurphysports.ie.
Hi folks, Paul McDevitt here, inviting you to join myself and Jimmy Stafford this Monday night for another edition of the Monday Night Sessions. On the show this week, we welcome back from St John's Point the brilliant Proton Pool Party. Singer-songwriter James Quinn from County Meath will also be dropping by for a chat and a few tunes, and from Ballybofey we welcome country singer Keelan Brown. So that's the Monday Night Sessions this Monday night between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. as always, right here on Highland Radio.
The Loganair sale is now on with savings to put a spring in your step. Save up to 17% off flights when booking online and entering promo code SPRING17. Book by midnight April 1st. Travel from 1st May. Find deals at loganair.co.uk. T's and C's apply, subject to availability. Discount excludes taxes and surcharges.
If you need an eye test, look no further than Louis Walsh Opticians. Letterkenny's longest established opticians are delighted to welcome patients new and old to their state-of-the-art practice in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. Their latest technology includes a 3D OCT retinal camera which assesses the health of your eyes in minutes. Private, medical card and PRSI patients welcome. Call 91 21000 to arrange your eye test.
Louis Walsh Opticians, Letterkenny. Your vision, our focus.
Milford Tiles, Milford Retail Park. Tiles, bathware and wood flooring. The best quality and value in the Northwest. Fully stocked and ready to go. Fitters and delivery available. 10% off for mica affected customers. Don't forget to ask about our 5-day bathroom fit out. Call Milford Tiles on 083 091 0707.
For strong, unique, weather-resistant homes, choose Cedral Exteriors. Our fibre cement roof slates and wall cladding ranges are built to last for generations, exceeding EU quality standards. Members of Guaranteed Irish, our products are locally made and beautifully designed, offering long-term peace of mind. Visit cedral.ie. Cedral Exteriors. Strength guaranteed.
Irwin Expert Electrical, your trusted destination for all things home appliances, electrical and entertainment in the Northwest. With over 50 years of leading the way, we pride ourselves on offering a diverse range of products under one roof. From top brands like LG, Samsung, Cooker, Bosch, Apple and more, take advantage of our free layaway service where you can store your new items until you're ready for them. Perfect for renovations and new build projects. Visit Irwin Expert Electrical today in Letterkenny or Buncrana.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Discover trending new styles each week in fashion, footwear, accessories, homeware and more. Visit us to explore the latest arrivals in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
So the sun will become a little hazy as cloud drifts in over the region this afternoon. There'll be some patchy light rain, which means scarce enough. Developing later in the afternoon, temperatures 12 to 14 degrees, but it's going to be more the same tomorrow, not terribly wet. Margaret O'Doherty is a pharmacist in Rafo Pharmacy, regular guest on the show. Always good to have you on, Margaret. How are you getting on?
Grand, thanks, Greg, and yourself?
I'm doing good, Margaret. We learned today that the weight loss medication Wegovy, similar to Ozempic, will be available on prescription at pharmacies. It's like a cousin drug of it. But a lot of people will be happy about this, I'd imagine. And I'm sure pharmacists are potentially getting an awful lot of contacts about these types of drugs from the general population who are or have struggled to lose weight.
Absolutely, there's of course a big interest in them. Lots of people, anybody that has weight problems will know how hard it is to lose weight and how hard in particular it is to keep the weight off once they've done the hard work of getting it off. And we're now understanding that obesity is a disease. It's not as simple as just, eat less and take more exercise and you'll be grand. Like, we know that just doesn't work in the long term for a lot of people. And these medicines have been life-changing they're not suitable for everybody, but for the people that have benefited from them, they will tell you it is a completely different lifestyle for them.
Yeah, because my recollection of Ozempic is that, people with and without diabetes were getting access to it, and then I don't know if it was the government or GP seemed to really tighten it. So in other words, it was for diabetes only, and that's what it was licensed for, which is the key thing here. It's what it's licensed for. Wegovy, a similar drug, it has been licensed for weight loss, and some saying around about 200 a month. But I suppose if people's eating habits and diets are changing, it could end up being cost neutral for those that need it.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that sort of disposable income, regardless of if they were making savings. I mean, you still have to eat. You probably have to eat maybe higher quality food that actually works out more expensive, even though you're eating less food. You may well find that your food bill is as high as it ever was, or maybe higher. So I don't think that really it's not going to be a saving for you, unfortunately.
Okay. All right, so maybe I was being somewhat over optimistic.
Over optimistic,
but for some who can afford it, and again, it's terrible that these types of treatments it comes down to money. But anyway, hopefully it's of benefit to some, because I think I'm not a champion of these drugs, but there seems to be an awful lot of studies that show they have quite a lot of other benefits as well. Right.
Certainly for the people that they are suitable for, and I mean, if your doctor thinks that they're suitable for you, obviously I wouldn't advocate buying them on the internet or whatever. But if they're medically prescribed and supervised, they're safe drugs if they're used properly, and they are very beneficial in the right patients.
Now, also, we've another situation where something has been announced and all parties don't seem to be privy to the details. The government's told the public that they can renew 6 months prescriptions, but this hasn't been fully agreed with the biggest pharmacy union in this country. What's the background to this, Margaret?
Well, the background to this is, again, it's a long-running issue. The last government appointed an expert committee to recommend ways that pharmacists could contribute more to the health service, and that was very welcome, and they came up with a lot of good ideas. And one of them was this prescription extension that was announced. It took a long time to get the details of it. When we did get the details of it, I think it was about last September. It turned out that it was a lot more restrictive than we thought, and basically it wasn't practical to implement in the form that it was given, and there was no funding for doing the extra work, to pay for training for it, for insurance. All the nitty-gritty of actually implementing it meant that it just simply there was just no way that it was going to be a runner, and it hasn't been, as far as I know. I don't know anybody that's implementing it.
Okay, sounds very similar to free medicine for women that was announced earlier. I trust you implicitly, Margaret. Are pharmacists holding out for a better deal, or do negotiations need to be put in place to meet the concerns you've been outlining there?
Well, both, basically. I mean, pharmacists are in an ongoing dispute with the department. We've had a pay freeze for 16 years, so I don't think anybody expects people to work for the same amount of money that they were getting 16 years ago, when you look at all the overheads that have been going up and up ever since. So until that issue is addressed, we're not in a position to start taking on extra work
Which
that
is logical.
hasn't any funding.
Yes,
it's as simple as that.
Right.
So until we get some progress on that, I mean, I suppose it's a case that nothing's agreed until everything's agreed, but it does feel that progress is glacially slow. I mean, every day you're saying, oh yeah, there's supposed to be meetings and there's this going on and there's that going on, but there's never any action, and it's very frustrating for us because we want to be taking on extra roles, helping the public in various ways with their medication, and it's just not possible when the funding isn't there for it.
Yeah, okay. Listen, Margaret, thanks as always for your valuable insight. Margaret O'Doherty, pharmacist in Riffle Pharmacy there.
Tina Turner. That is mine.
Looking for the perfect Mother's Day gift? Want to show someone that you think they're simply the best? Or do you have a proud Mary you want to spoil? West End mega hit Tina, the Tina Turner musical, is coming to Boardgash Energy Theatre, Dublin as part of its first ever Ireland tour. Join Highland Radio on Friday the 6th of June for an unforgettable trip. Set to a soundtrack of Tina's greatest hits, this inspirational and exhilarating story celebrates the life of the Queen of Rock and Roll. Trip includes luxury coach travel, overnight stay at the 4-star City North Hotel on a bed and breakfast basis, and ticket to the show. Contact us today on 9125,000 or check out the outlet on highlandradio.com to book your place now.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual office address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save your business hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 7187 8077 for more details.
Happy Mother's Day.
Treat your mum this Mother's Day to a bottle of perfume or a cosmetics gift from McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. You'll find Chanel, Calvin Klein, Dolce & Gabbana, Elizabeth Arden and many more. Great value for great mums this Mother's Day. See in store or order online at mcgees.ie. McGee's, where the best costs less.
Make Mother's Day extra special this week with Super Value. From Wednesday, create a delicious dinner for 4 people with our Mother's Day roast dinner bundle. Get our signature taste Irish Hereford strip loin roast and 2 signature taste sides for only €25. And Pierre Darcy champagne is available for only €20. Make real savings this Mother's Day at Super Value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Got a hidden leak? AMG Leak Detection provides a professional plumbing service throughout Donegal and surrounding areas. Using the latest technology, we find and fix leaks quickly. No mess, no hassle. From pipes to drains, we're here to save you time and money. Don't wait for costly damage. Call AMG Leak Detection today on 086 236 2774 for a leak-free home. AMG Leak Detection. Detect, repair, protect.
Hoka, the brand that has changed running shoes at Brian McCormick Sports. The ultra-cushioned game changer, Bondi 9, will give you a soft and bouncy transition from heel to toe. Enjoy the increased stack height with a new premium midsole. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click on bmcsports.ie.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Coming up very shortly, we're going to turn our attention to sport. You do much better at this than I do, Michaela.
Do you think so? I don't know.
Well, at least you can string 2 words together.
Well, I haven't read the headlines.
All right, true. Okay, well, hide your horses. Okay, coming up very shortly, we're going to turn our attentions to sport, but it is 11 o'clock. So let's get a news update, and it's good morning to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Police have confirmed that an email sent to a number of schools across Northern Ireland has led to their closure due to a security concern. 3 schools in Strabane, Holy Cross College, Strabane Academy and Strabane Primary School are closed today, along with others in Enniskillen and Ballycastle. Police say inquiries are continuing and they are liaising with the Metropolitan Police in London. The nature of the security concern is unknown at this time. The government is being urged not to fall into line with the EU when it comes to imposing counter-tariffs on the US. Sinn Féin finance spokesperson Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty says there are other issues at play at a European level with which Ireland has no involvement, and the government's first priority must be to protect Irish jobs. Deputy Doherty says decisions over the coming weeks will be crucial. Opposition leaders, meanwhile, have called on the government not to ram through new dual speaking rules tomorrow. The coalition plans to create an extra slot for backbenchers and the regional independents to question the Taoiseach. In a joint letter to the Taoiseach and Taoiseach, opposition parties have called on the coalition to back down. US and Russian negotiators are continuing discussions in Saudi Arabia today, aimed at agreeing a possible ceasefire deal with Ukraine. But there's concern after Donald Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, repeated Russian claims that Ukraine is a false country. The price of the average second-hand three-bed semi in County Donegal has risen by 5.6% to €190,000 in the last 3 months, according to the latest Real Estate Alliance survey. Prices have increased by 17% since March of last year, with homes selling in an average of 4 weeks, the Q1 REA Average House Price Index shows. The survey also shows that across the county, 27% of purchasers were first-time buyers, with a total of 15% of sales in the county this quarter attributed to landlords leaving the market. There's renewed calls for a detox centre in Derry. Kieran McCarn, a personal trainer from Derry, says his own addiction issues spiralled to a point where he lost all he had. He's now appealing to elected public representatives in the city to open their eyes to the high volume of people struggling with addiction in Derry. And questions are being asked over who has responsibility for the emptying of council-owned litter bins in Donegal. It comes after a bin at a picnic area on Muff Greenway in recent days was overflowing with nappies and dog-finding bags left strewn across the ground. Councillor Terry Crossan is seeking clarity as to whether responsibility lies with the roads or environmental section of Donegal County Council. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Thank you very much, Michaela.
Imagine what you could do with €20,000 to refresh your living space. Highland Radio and Foy's are giving you the chance to transform your home with a €10,000 home makeover draw, plus €10,000 in cash. Get your tickets now at highlandradio.com for a chance to make your dream home a reality.
Summer Sessions Letterkenny presents the Saw Doctors Outdoor Show live at the Big Top in Letterkenny on Saturday the 16th of August. That's the Saw Doctors, the 16th of August. Don't miss out on this sellout show. Tickets €50 and 60 cents at sawdoctors.com. Also coming to Summer Sessions are the Human League, Picture This and many more. See Summer Sessions on Facebook and Instagram.
This Daffodil Day, March 28th, we're going all in against cancer. All of the runners, the donors, the bakers, makers and bucket shakers will be giving their all with the Irish Cancer Society to support people affected by cancer. But the day won't be the same without you and your support. So please, donate today at cancer.ie.
Okay, so what a day it was yesterday. If you're we're at home or at the matches themselves, we were sitting there watching. At one point, Donegal had the top position in the league. Then they were pegged back, and then it was Mayo. And who was going to be relegated? Is it Tyrone or Armagh? I haven't a clue because we don't know how the head-to-heads work and all that crack. And that was only in Division 1. So why in God's name do we need a final? It was a brilliant last day to the Division 1, Division 2, 3 and 4 leagues. Brendan, why are we going to play out a final? Mayo have proven they're the best in Division 1. They lost less games.
Yeah, well, listen, you could maybe argue against some of that. And certainly yesterday, I think we probably should have won the match, particularly with the 2 goal opportunities, the missed penalty and the crossbar hit from Hugh McFadden. But yeah, listen, it's a very tight league. I mean, they were on 9, you have 4 teams on 8 and 2 and 7, and then Derry at the bottom. So very little in it. But listen, I agree with you. I've said to you before, Greg, talking to different players from down the divisions, the chance to play Croke Park in a league final is huge. So for me, I think Division 1 should stand alone and be left as a league title. I think the rest of the teams do want that day in Croke Park, and I wouldn't want to take that away from them. But the Division 1 teams, as we could see from everybody yesterday, I mean, Galway taking off Comer in their match and how they performed against Kerry, it didn't look like they were too worried about it. And then you had the teams obviously were threatening relegation. At one stage, me and Oisin were doing the commentary yesterday, and Donegal were a point up and Mayo were being relegated. They went down, had a 2-pointer and put them top of the league. That's how tight it was yesterday. But listen, it was a fascinating finish to the league. But I agree with you in that. I think Division 1 should be left as a title.
I mean, also, Brendan, like, no final, and say bring it forward 1 week, it would also make the league a different animal in and of itself, in that you wouldn't have managers who obviously aren't going to throw a game, but would know that they've got some recovery time once the league concludes to go into the championship. Because what do we take from Donegal's league campaign there? I mean, there were times, look, we were amazing at the start, and that's perhaps what we can look forward through the championship. But even though Jim McGuinness is rotating the squad a little bit, experimenting, getting to grips with the new rules, and clearly, as you mentioned, that game could have been won yesterday with the penalty or the shot that hit the crossbar. But what have we learned from Donegal, or what has Jim learned from Donegal going into the championship that makes that whole process worthwhile?
Well, I suppose we've learned that when we have our full team out and we match up to the likes of Armaghs, Kerrys and Dublins, we've beaten them, which is very, very positive. And I think that's the big thing, Derry, of course, and Ballyshannon. So those victories put us in a position then where we didn't have to be overly worried about the other games, and we were allowed to chop and change a bit. I suppose Murphy being back, his impact in those games when he came on was absolutely phenomenal. Like the Finbar Rorty this year has been brilliant as well. I mean, that guy's going to start for Donegal. I mean, that's a huge plus for us going into it. We've seen from last week the game against Tyrone. I mean, the form of Jamie Brennan in that game, he obviously was rested. So was Gallen. McBurdy has an injury. Obviously, Murphy was rested. So, I mean, if you put them into that game yesterday, and it's always very hard to say, you would think, well, that means Donegal will win the match, right? Now, games don't play out like that. But at the same time, Mayo don't have players like that. Mayo had a very bad start to the league. They were beat by Dublin and they were hockeyed by Galway. Now, they were missing 4 or 5 of their main players, like those players I've mentioned. And when they got them back, you've seen a serious resurgence. So when you look at it and break it down squad for squad, the fact that we were able to give Tyrone a good game last week with the team that beat out, and then, say, still missing some of our main men, we could have very easily beaten Mayo. All that bodes well for Donegal if we have our full team out come championship.
And sometimes, Brendan, it's not what you in the commentary box see or what I see from my vantage point. It's what Jim McGuinness is seeing, because he can contextualise every decision he's made in advance of and during a game as part of the greater plan, I presume.
Yeah, that's it. And Jim, we trust he's got a plan, all right. There's a lot of talk about squads and different people. And, I'm talking to people all over the county because I'm travelling around my job. And I'm like, are you really questioning some of the things that Jim does? None of us mere mortals have the right to do that. Jim has a plan. And Greg, how well it's worked in his 5 years has been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the success rate is unreal. So, listen, he knows exactly what he's doing. And, you look at yesterday, Michael Langan coming on that second half, cruising through, putting a couple of balls over the bar. There's a player's been missing this last number of weeks. It's going to be unreal coming into the championship. Even Owen McHugh came on and did really well. So there were so many aspects to our game yesterday where we've had our defensive shape looks very solid when we get back into it, and then we break with this blistering pace. And if you ask me now to put our full side out against Mayo, would I be very confident of beating them next time we'd beat them? If we did, I certainly would be.
So. Derry had thrown down. Derry had an appalling division, if you look at the standings, okay, compared to how we were talking about them last year. But that being said, the worst thing you could, and we'll not see it from the management, of course, is to go into the big opener with Derry taking anything for granted or taking the opposition for granted, for that matter, either. And again, that's in Jim we trust. He knows all of this. But it could potentially be a banana skin. Look how much they'd have to prove.
I suppose they're going to be written off now, and particularly the way they lost yesterday. It was interesting, their final game. If they had got, I suppose, listen, they were relegated, and they'd have went up and beaten Armagh, would have given them a bit of confidence going on. As it is, the fact now that they were well beaten by Armagh, particularly conceding all those goals, they will be written off, which is a bit dangerous, I think, in many ways, because they still have a decent team now. Obviously, McKinley's been injured, Lex McCluskey out. Rogers actually went off injured against us that day in Ballyshannon. He didn't play yesterday as well. So, the only one of them, I think, well, listen, Rogers, I think, will be back for that game in the championship in a couple of weeks' time. That's the word that I'm hearing. But Yeah, they're definitely wounded. And you got to remember, I suppose, in Ballyshannon, we weren't playing it particularly well, but they were 8 points up against us. And so the warning, I suppose, and that Jim will be telling the lads that, if you take your chances, this Derry team has enough in them to cause us plenty of problems. But I think on the back of that result yesterday, Donegal will be huge favourites, given the fact of how the leagues went, but also our record at Ballybofey and a record under Jim there, never been beaten. So it's a real, if I was on the Derry side now, it's a real shot to nothing. But again, there'd be no pressure on them going into it. And, you look at what they were achieving under Rory Gallagher. They've been asked to play a different style the last couple of years, then take out some of the injured players and that have been forced on them. And it's just been a real tough time from Derry from where they were at.
Before we move on then, can you or have you been able to sort of identify a top four off the back of the league?
Yeah, it's been very, because it's been so close, you're not too sure how this new Dublin team, I mean, talking about household names and guys with absolute pockets of All-Ireland medals retiring, it's been much spoke about. The fact that they were still able to cope, but Croke Park's a big one. I'm really fascinated to see Mayo and Kerry go at it next week, because the new rules, Greg, will change when we get to Croke Park, because it's a faster playing pitch and it's more, there's going to be more space in it and you can turn people quicker and that. So you got to play Croke Park different to everywhere else. And all we've seen is Dublin playing teams there. So it'll be very interesting to see how Mayo and Kerry got it. Kerry like to kick the ball. They like to score goals. They like to attack first. And be interesting to see, from what I seen of Mayo defensively yesterday, if they can hold this Kerry forward line at all. So going into the championship then, you'd have to see at the minute, listen, Galway were pretty poor yesterday actually against Kerry. Up until that point, they would have been slight favourites with All-Ireland. But I think after Kerry's last couple of performances, it's probably Galway, Kerry, ourselves would be in that kind of top three bracket. Now, whether Armagh are a bit hit and miss, whether they would get in there as well, we're not too sure what Dublin's going to come back with, but that's probably your top 3-4.
Makes it fascinating. It's been quite the journey for those following Donegal in Division 2 of the National Hurling League. Sadly, they were relegated, come up against a strong Derry with an inspired Christy McNaughton. 23 to 9 points that went down in the end, and unfortunately we'll be playing Division 3 hurling next year, or maybe it's part of the journey.
Yeah, listen, Nick, I was out at it. One of them days just where everything goes against you. A lot of work, done at Kerry, and don't forget, the Slot Neil team was in the senior hurling club final. That's at the very highest grade of hurling in the country, and you've a sprinkling them throughout the team and that. So, there's probably a bit more depth in Derry hurling, and even though we were at home and Derry were slight favourites going into it, we certainly didn't see that coming. But that's something now Donegal just have to dust themselves down. They still competed well in the division at times, but this was a real tough day at the office for Mickey McCann and his lads. So listen, they just got to put it behind them now and get ready for the championship.
The Donegal ladies back to winning ways, the senior ladies that is, which is good. Donegal 10 points, Tipperary 7.
Yeah, first class. Listen, James Daly's team, they're under a wee bit of pressure, possibly for relegation. So it's a huge home win. Susanna White with 7 points, and I think she had a brilliant game outside of her, scoring as well. And she has had some season in there for Donegal, and they've Cork now in the final game. Cork already promoted them, and Galway have went up. So it was good that we didn't have to maybe face Cork needing to get points to stay in the division. So this was a huge victory for our ladies.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. That and so much more besides all the weekend's GE action from Donegal and across the Northwest, because we all keep a close eye on our neighbours too, don't we? Mickey McCann's on the show with you, actually. It'll be interesting to hear his reflections. Christy O'Connor, the GE sports writer and former Mayo star John Casey. And also in studio with you, Brendan Kilcoyne. It's a pretty packed show, Brendan.
The one and only Brendan Kilcoyne. Yeah, listen, be good, great catching up. Christy O'Connor is a brilliant analyst, and as is John Casey there. They'll be out and around the country every week covering matches. So I'm really looking forward to getting their views, and we'll get Brendan back in. He was away off there travelling the world. He was in a boat out in Thailand last.
Sounds all right, doesn't it?
That might come up tonight. We'll hear how that trip went as well.
All right, I'll look forward to almost tune in, but just for that. All right, Brendan, take care of yourself. Good man. Thanks very much indeed. Brendan Devaney there. He's the presenter of Highland Radio's DL Debate podcast. It's on live for you just after 7 o'clock, and you can watch that too, the same way you can watch this show every single day. And it's also available for you as a very popular podcast on our website in the playback section shortly thereafter. I want to play a couple of requests, if that's okay with you. Happy 21st birthday to my niece, Leah Doherty from Melton. Lots of love from Auntie Caroline. Happy birthday, Leah. Wishing Irene Gallagher in Church Street, Ramelton, a very happy birthday today. Lots of love from Julie, Anna and Emily. And I've also been asked to wish Mary Macquarie of Rathmullen a happy 88th birthday today. Happy birthday to you, Mary. Lots of love coming in from all of us here at Highland Radio, of course, but more importantly, Raymond, Marjorie and Paula. Lots of love from all of us on this special birthday, and wishing you a wonderful day with family and friends. Happy birthday, Mary. Hopefully you're listening. Right, okay. Let us take a short break. Our next guest just around the corner.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Are you an experienced mechanic and looking for a change? iMotors want to speak with you. With positions available in Letterkenny and Malin, we're looking for qualified, experienced mechanics to join our team. With excellent packages available for the right candidate. Email michael@imotors.ie today to find out more.
Make Mother's Day unforgettable on Sunday the 30th of March with a 5-course carvery lunch and the elegant surroundings of the Finn Suite at Jackson's Hotel Ballybuffet. Indulge in a mouth-watering selection of freshly prepared dishes, all served in a warm, family-friendly atmosphere. Treat Mum to the best. Call Jackson's Hotel now to reserve your table.
Go full Lidl this Mother's Day. Spoil them with our Board B approved deluxe Irish Angus roasting joint, 19% off, now only $10.49 with Lidl Plus. And say thanks for everything with our beautiful flower bouquets from just $4.99. In store March 27th. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl this Mother's Day.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
It's 18 minutes past 11. We say good morning now to Ain't Do leader, Deputy Pater Tobin. Good morning to you, Pater. Thanks so much for your time.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good, and was keen to chase up with statistics you sought and released. More than 1,000 prisoners were released within 24 hours of being put behind bars. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it means, first of all, that the criminal justice system is in big trouble in many ways. We already know that the number of Gardaí has fallen significantly per capita in the last 20 years. We know now that there's 56 Garda stations throughout the country that do not have a Garda assigned to them. And we also know that because of massive overcrowding in the prisons in Ireland, that about 1,000 prisoners, above 1,000 prisoners every year are being released the day after they're sent to prison. So that's roughly 3 every single day. And that's happening because of overcrowding. So there are 650 now more inmates than there are beds in the system. And I've no doubt as well, I've looked at the prison sentences that criminals are getting in this country over the last 20 years, and the severity of those prison sentences has been reduced. So while it's hard to prove it in real terms, but there's no doubt that many judges realise that the prisons are stuffed. And I'd say that has an impact in terms of the prison sentences that they're handing out.
But we can't obviously suggest they're not being directed in that regard, are they? So no, are they mainly making unilateral decisions? They're saying, what's the point? Oh, I don't know.
I agree. There's no evidence of, and I would be wrong, obviously, the system doesn't allow for any direction in those terms, but they work within the reality of the system, and there's no doubt that they have to deal with that. In the same fashion, I know that if you're a Garda and you have worked extensively on catching a criminal, on building the evidence to bring that to the DPP, that the DPP brings it to court. The court makes a decision that all of that time taken, you manage to get a custodial sentence, and then the next day the individual is out on the streets. I imagine as a Garda, you're also going to be demotivated too in terms of following up in terms of that type of criminal and their actions.
Hannah, do we know who makes that call though, right? Because, I presume the guards and the judge, if they hand down a custodial sentence and the guards go through all the rigmarole as you've outlined there, they're presuming that, maybe they might serve half their sentence or whatever. But who's actually making, is it the prison officer or who's making a shout that, right, you literally go in, you've been recorded as having been in prison and you're literally out the same door a couple of hours later? Who's making that shout?
Yeah, so we've been asking this question a good few years in a row, and the last Minister for Justice was Helen McCann, and she stated to us that the person making the decisions on who is selected for early release is in her department and therefore responsible to her. And so the information that we have is it's a senior departmental official in the Department of Justice who is selecting individuals for early release.
Is it based on the individuals? Is it based on the category of crime? I mean, this is info I think we as the public and the judiciary and Gardaí really should have.
Yeah. So she went to great pains at the time in trying to say that the type of individual released was of a low danger to society. So you're talking about public order offences, theft and assaults, what you're talking about. I would say that we are living in a country where crime is increasing, violent crime is increasing, rape and sexual assault is increasing. The figures that the CSO released about 3 weeks ago in terms of a whole range of crime show a significant increase. So that these individuals are not they're not Boy Scouts. These are individuals who have committed serious crimes. And to be honest, Greg, just at this point, there's no way that they would receive the custodial sentence had they not been involved in crimes before as well, because normally a suspended sentence is given to an individual or even second.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, I'm trying to reflect what the views of someone listening to this show might be out there, and they might be outraged that another fella might be found with 4,000 child abuse images on their computer and their phone, and they might be distributing them, effectively producing that. They'll go in front of the courts and receive a suspended sentence, and they're wondering, right, the prisons are so full with people, and yet my point being is people are unhappy with some of the sentencing and how we rehabilitate people. Is this the time to have the conversation about all of that? About guidelines. Why are these despicable human beings free to walk the streets when someone who got Larry on a Saturday night for the second time ends up in prison?
Yeah, so we aim to have raised this over and over again. So there are a number of judges who have been handing out sentences that are shockingly light or suspended, and these sentences are for crimes that relate to usually images of child pornography, where there's absolutely not a victimless crime, where an individual child has had their life destroyed by being subjected to these types of images being taken of them and being shared. And we've gone to the minister. The minister said that there is a judicial council, and it's the judicial council's responsibility to decide on the severity of sentencing, and also to check to see our judges functioning within that parameter. But the reality is, it is in the gift of the government to actually set down minimal custodial sentences for crime. And the government is very allergic to setting down minimal custodial sentences. They don't want to dictate to judges for what people should go to jail for. But I think it is time that there are minimal custodial sentences.
I just feel
crime.
that if we were in the United States now, you'd have senior politicians calling for a review of the Judicial Council, to find out what's going on. That's why what's happening over there is resonating with the public so much, because it's that kind of calling out what ordinarily we would have presumed works hand in hand. What we're seeing in the United States now, and we've seen in Argentina, that the government is calling out, they're not arms of the state or what have you, but bodies to see, let's have a bit more accountability. What is that council doing if the public are spotting stuff they don't like.
Yeah, so the major reason why we have custodial sentences is deterrent. We have custodial sentences in this country because we want to say to citizens, if you get involved in horrendous crime which has victimizes individuals, there will be a serious cost to you. Your liberty will be taken, and you need to be sure of that. Now, what message this government is giving out is quite the opposite. This government is giving out a message to say that you can be involved in serious crime, which creates, really, really difficult situations for victims, and you're going to get off scot-free. That in actual fact, there's going to be a revolving door in the prisons, that many people will have multiple convictions, maybe 10, 15, 20, 30, or 40 multiple convictions without ever seeing jail time at all. And there's no doubt that that allows criminals to feel a sense of impunity, that they can actually go about their crimes without really having to worry about the stress of a custodial
Well, they
sentence.
They know the system, and those that represent them know the system, and they don't think in the same way as we do. People who generally abide by the law, they don't. It is no big shakes to go down to Mountjoy for a day and to come out again. Of the 1,000 prisoners, do we know? Are they released on license, or are they deemed to have served their sentence? I wonder, or does it depend on the conviction or what have you?
My understanding is that they are released on the basis that the rest of the sentence is
suspended,
still exists, and if they reoffend, that the rest of that sentence could be still implemented. That is my understanding.
Yeah, and it'd be very
check.
Interesting then to get the second round of figures, if that is your understanding. If there is, whilst the person is on license or whatever phraseology we use here, and they are they arrested, released on bail to appear in court again, or are they instantly brought back to the prison? Because if they're not, and if that is on the condition on which they're released, the whole system is a basket case.
Yeah, and here's another element of this too. Because of the fact that prisons are so stuffed, many prisoners are released on many, I suppose, people awaiting a trial are released on bail, because again, like, you can't really put prisoners in if they're on
Was it 44,000 crimes committed by people on bail? Is that the statistic?
Over 40,000 crimes were committed on people by people on bail last year, which is an incredible figure. It is absolutely, and again, it shows you the complete dysfunction of our system, where the Gardaí are doing their damnedest to get people in front of a judge, and after get people in front of a judge, these people are let out to reoffend, even while they're waiting for the actual court case to happen. And there's been two really high-profile cases just recently. There was the murder of that man, Babatunde, the 34-year-old man who was stabbed in that horrendous situation in South Anne Street in Dublin city centre. And the two suspects were out on bail for other serious charges. The same happened in the week before, where there was another stabbing incident in Stony Batter, and that individual was also on bail in terms of drug offences. So, we're really taking the mick here now of the system, where it is so difficult to get a person incarcerated that a significant chunk of the crimes are actually happening by people who should be behind bars.
Yeah, and we're feeding the beast. Really, it's the system is, and I'm sure any government should want to get a handle on this. Someone needs to sort of say, well, what we do? Because
Fine Gael used to sell itself as the party of law and order. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and the independents are refusing to create prison spaces. And don't get me wrong, like, it's not the case. We're not coming at this as locking them up and throw away the key attitude. We do want to see a situation where people from disadvantaged areas, with difficult, let's say, upbringings, are helped. That there is supports put in place to people. It costs like up to 80 and 90 grand a year to actually put a person in prison. That money would actually be better spent in helping young people.
Well, we want people to be rehabilitated, don't we?
To not have to go to prison. Yeah. But at the very end of the process, there needs to be a deterrent, and that means there needs to be prison spaces. The government put €8 billion away in savings last year. Currently, Thornton Hall, which was bought for the purpose of creating prison spaces about 15 years ago, if you remember that, That's currently in the middle of an iPass debate at the moment in North Dublin. It's a government that hasn't got the will, unfortunately. That's why we're seeing so much crime on our streets.
Okay, that's the view of Peadar Tobin, Deputy Peadar Tobin, Ain't Too Leader. Thanks for your time. I do appreciate it, Peadar. Take care of yourself. Do you agree, disagree? 08660 25,000. What would you like to see? What do you think needs changing? What needs to be kept the same? I think that's an issue that the public's very invested in. And you know, some stuff we're kind of casual about it, but I think law and order is one that people always have a very strong feeling on. You know, for an example, should we be, if someone is a prolific offender, should we continue to provide free legal aid for that person? You're paying for their defence time and time and time again. You know, little things, little areas of reform like that might have an impact on it. You know, that money could be recouped from them down the line. I don't know. But there are things I think, you know, we as the general public think could be done. I would imagine it's much more complicated than that, or successive governments would have done more in that regard. So it must be more complicated than I'm suggesting. But we shall see. Very interested in your views as always. You know the numbers, don't you?
The infection felt terrible. I just wasn't getting better. I was breathing fast and I felt confused. I had shivers and pain through my body. I was drinking water, but I wasn't peeing. I felt like I was going to die. In the hospital, they said I had sepsis. And it's urgent.
Sepsis can hide behind any infection at any age, so watch out for the signs. Visit hse.ie/sepsis for more information. And don't be afraid to ask the question, could it be sepsis? From the HSE.
Celebrate Mum this Mother's Day with something special from Dunnes Stores. Pick up a bottle of her favourite red or white wine, like Cantina Zaccanini Montepulciano di Abruzzo, or Paco and Lola Albarino from €12. Or choose from a selection of fresh flower arrangements and bouquets available in-store from the 27th of March. Plus, you can save at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
Massive spring sale at Charles Sons Ballabafay. €500 off wood pellet boiler stoves. €250 off wood pellet non-boiler stoves. Discounts on all multi-fuel and electric stoves, plumbing and bathroom wear. Sale ends March 31st or while stocks last. Charles Sons Ballabafay and thestovestore.ie, where you can always do a good deal better.
Keeling's blueberries are available now. Let the fun begin. Pick up a punnet of Keeling's blueberries in store today. Tasty, juicy, feel-good fruit. Love that Keeling's feeling.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Ballyshannon should attend the clinic in Coláiste Columkill in Ballyshannon on Monday 24th of March. Donors from Killybegs should attend the clinic in St Catherine's School on Tuesday 25th, and donors from Donegal Town and Dunglow should attend the clinic in the Abbey Hotel in Donegal on Wednesday 26th and Thursday 27th. Making an appointment is recommended, so call 1-800-731-137 or visit our website to book your time. New donors are vital. Visit giveblood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
A caller says, so crime pays after all, no money to build more prisons, greedy government has plenty for funding wars. Re-HSE fund, the fact that a Fianna Fáil minister in the Fianna Fáil-Fine Gael government travelled to Donegal 2 days before the local elections last year to announce the money promised is sickening. These things don't happen by chance but arranged by smart advisors for political gain. The minister involved lost her seat in the general election but was nominated to the Seanad. She contested the Seanad election 25 and failed, but was again nominated to the Seanad. Figure that. Okay. Right, now let us turn to Fiona O'Malley, CEO of Turn to Me. And I actually did that completely by accident. Subconsciously, I said, let's turn to you, and you're of Turn to Me. Thanks so much for joining us. Or maybe I'm just subconsciously brilliant at segues. I'm not quite sure, Fiona, which one it is.
I think you're subconsciously brilliant.
Oh, you're so kind.
And consciously brilliant, Craig.
You're too kind. Fiona, thanks so much for your time. A lot of talk at the moment about influences, particularly male influences, on young people, primarily boys. And unfortunately, it's a tough conversation to have, but one we have to have, because it seems to get dragged into politics, right? So I'm thinking of, say, for instance, at the moment, Conor McGregor, very divisive figure, but he's invited to the White House, right? And some people think, he's not fantastic, but I like what he's saying on immigration. And then you've got Andrew Tate, right? Another friend of the Trump administration. But if you are of a certain political leading, you think he's been persecuted. The man is absolutely, so we try and have these conversations, and then it gets dragged into left, right and centre and all that kind of stuff, Fiona, but we must continue to try.
Yes, we must continue to try. And I suppose even though it can be tempting to just ignore what's happening and to not engage, I think it is really important to engage and to talk particularly to young people about toxic masculinity and about what a positive role model means, and the dangers of toxic masculinity, not only for the young boy, but also for young girls. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the Netflix TV show Adolescence, and it kind of brings it ultimately to an ultimate conclusion. What can happen if young people are constantly bombarded with toxic masculinity content and constantly encouraged to dominate women, and pushing forward the narrative that the natural order would be women being subservient to men, and that's obviously very, very damaging for lots of different reasons. But from a mental health perspective, it can have a significantly detrimental impact in shaping young minds in particular.
Yes, and of course the easiest thing, as I did already, is to go to perhaps some of the more obvious names. But I think actually toxic masculinity and influence operate on a much lower level. It could be someone with 15,000 viewers on TikTok that my son could be following, right? Or 250,000. It isn't one or two, three people. It is an online industry, and there's lots and lots of people in it, and the product is our kids.
Absolutely, yeah. And there are lots of different reasons why it can be very, very dangerous, and the implication that it has. And I suppose when we think about toxic masculinity, as you say, we do think of larger figures like the Tate brothers, both of whom are being prosecuted in Romania for rape and human trafficking, amongst other allegations. And I suppose one of the dangers of idolizing or giving someone a platform with a significant reach is that not only do they themselves reach millions of people, and particularly impressionable young minds, they also have copycats, and sometimes the copycats mightn't have the same level of reach, but the consequence of that is that if we are to, for example, deplatform or demonetize the Tate brothers, which I believe most social media platforms have done, it can be more difficult for them to monitor and moderate less known copycats or less known platforms or content creators. But ultimately, there are lots of dangers associated from a mental health perspective with toxic masculinity. The first is emotional suppression. So toxic masculinity discourages young men from expressing themselves, and particularly expressing any type of vulnerability or sadness. And when you
can
suppress...
I frame that in something, if you don't mind? Because as I say, I find it interesting to have a different conversation about toxic masculinity. What that effectively means is the influencers might say to a young person that you must be strong, that you can't be sad, that you can deal with this stuff yourself. And if you're a 16, 17, 18-year-old person and a fella, and you can't conform to that your mental health could spiral, your confidence could spiral in a negative way. You might find that you don't actually have a place in society because you can't meet these stereotypes that are being put out there. And I don't think anyone, whoever they support, would want that happening to young fellas. So forget about you know what I mean? That's what this can do to young lads.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have seen, in Ireland, we don't have to look back that long ago where we look at the detrimental impact of not talking about mental health. And, they're ultimately making mental health a taboo topic or stigmatizing it. And we've come so far in destigmatizing it. And we all know ourselves or people that we're very close to the benefits of talking to other people. And when you suppress that, you are also suppressing the the desire or the pathway of getting support. So when you don't get support for mental health issues, it exacerbates and it deteriorates oftentimes quite quickly, and it puts a strain on ourselves when we don't talk about the mental health issues we're having, which also puts a strain on relationships. You know, if we feel like we can't open up to our friends and family, if they know something is wrong with us and we're not talking about it because some person online who, you know, has no background or no qualifications in mental health is encouraging young people to not talk about these issues, that has very, very detrimental impacts on our mental health.
Also, how young male brains are fashioned into treating relationships. Some of the influencers we've talked about here, their attitude is that you tell a woman what they want. That if a woman repeatedly says no, you say yes because she wants you. And if you are affirmative and if you are controlling, then eventually she will have to give in to you. I mean, it's actually horrendous to say this stuff out loud, right? But if you break it down, that is the messaging. That, I mean, does any parent or guardian want that stuff going into their young boy's head?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, there are two things there. Obviously, it classes women as being lesser and being subservient and encourages, you know, dominating another person, which has, you know, I suppose if you're starting any type of relationship from a point of control or manipulation or coercion, that's certainly not a recipe for a positive relationship or a positive future. But also, you know, it obviously has a negative impact on young women and people who are vulnerable. And, you know, we all just want to be loved. And I'm sure there are lots of different relationships that we've had in the past where we probably tolerated more than we should have. But encouraging this type of behavior, you know, regardless of gender, encouraging any one to, you know, convince another person that they know what they want and they know what they desire, that's very, very negative and can obviously have a negative detrimental impact on a young person's self-esteem if they're at the receiving end of this. But also, you know, to teach men that this is the way we should be treating women. Why don't we instead treat men of, you know, looking for women who are equal and looking for women who are strong and who can stand their own, and, you know, that's the building blocks for a positive relationship and a positive household, rather than again starting from a point of manipulation. And one of the really big dangers of the online toxic masculinity cult that we apparently see on social media platforms is that these echo chambers normalize this misogyny and they also embolden this type of misogynistic behavior. And when you're online, that anonymity gives people great freedom to say very, very harmful things and behave in a way that's you know, that you could equate to harassment, bullying, and even stalking, and that can have very serious consequences for individuals and also society at large.
Now, obviously, you know, all of this is monetized. Okay, so let's make no bones about it. These are businesses, and in fairness, in reality, the Tates use that as the defense. This is a caricature. I'm only doing this, but at the same time, it is what they're doing. The way it's being pushed out there is it's being seen as it's been seen. If you're anti-woke, this is what you need to be. Right, so there's no middle ground here, right? So if you don't like Dylan Mulvaney and if you don't like how the new Disney film has been put together or anything like that there, right, then the opposite to that, the only other way you could or should be is this type of a man, which is clever marketing, but that is precisely what they're doing. Do we need to start, Fiona, you know, giving a platform and supporting positive role models? You know, but not the extreme necessarily, because then it gets into some sort of a liberal versus conservative left-right thing, but actually just people, regular folk. I spoke to one a little earlier. Give them the platform and the support to become the alternative male voice, that you can have muscles, right? You can be strong, and if someone bumps into you, you can square up to them. I'm not saying you should, right? But at the same time, you can be in touch with how you feel. You know, you can be a good partner. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, absolutely. And all masculinity doesn't have to mean toxic masculinity. And to answer your question, I suspect that actually the vast majority of people are more centrist in their views, and the vast majority of people would not identify as being either far right or far left. I imagine the vast majority of people are left of centre or right of centre. But to answer your question...
Yes, but it's the people, sorry to cut across you, Fiona. I'm on about the people that are the product in the middle.
Yeah.
They could be left, right, centrist. Okay. So it's how many of the extremes they can influence is what's going, you know what I mean? So I agree what you're saying 100%, but I'm on about the victims of this, if I could put it like that. They're from all different backgrounds, because you're trying to manipulate them into how you're thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose that's any type of extreme content engages more people from lots of different backgrounds because of the algorithms of the echo chambers online, because more people from similar profiles or geolocations, as for yourself or myself, they will obviously be targeted as well with the algorithms, or with having a similar background, whether it's age or gender or anything like that, or education level. But I do think we need more positive male influencers who might identify as being masculine, but not necessarily toxic masculine. And it's fantastic seeing, for example, footballers calling out this type of behaviour and calling it as misogynistic and labelling it as it is, and also celebrating the positives of being masculine and being male without having this high level of toxicity.
Unfortunately, because all of this toxicity is happening primarily in it's not on the 6 o'clock news, and it's not in, it's online, that the people that we need to stand up and speak are afraid to do so, because we see the right and the left and everything in between is very capable of taking the legs from under you and destroying you if they don't like what you say. So the days where, you need really strong people to put their head above the parapet, because as soon as you do, whoever doesn't like what you're saying can destroy you. And that's why it's only people like the former England manager, who I presume you're referencing, and it's so rare, I'm guessing that's who you're talking about, right? That he has the confidence and the position to say that stuff. Whereas a Manchester United striker might be afraid of saying something and have the Tates on their back and all of their army.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about online armies, whether they're in the form of bots or, hybrid, half bot, half human controlling bots, when people are publicly shamed, there are lots of studies that show that it can be like a nervous breakdown afterwards, the aftermath of being publicly shamed and being publicly targeted. And to answer your question, it can take an awful lot, as you say, for someone to stand up and decide to stand up. And it can be difficult, I imagine, if you're at the receiving end of something. It can be an insufficient comfort to say, well, it's just bots or it's just trolls online. If someone is making death threats to you or your family, I'm sure it feels very, very real, whether it's a person or a bot behind that account.
Yeah, it's complex, isn't it? And it starts, I suppose, with us at home, what we can do in the schools. People might say, take mobile phones off people. That's people whose phones were invented while they were alive. The bottom line is technology is I think we need to start thinking about this as technology is part of young people's lives. And if the PlayStation and Roblox to some extent and Xbox can filter content through to young people because it's in their financial interest to do so, why can't other arms of the internet and online space also work in the same way to protect our young people as best as is possible? Because the solutions are there. It's technical, and I think that's really where we need to go. Fiona, it's been lovely talking to you and getting your views. Turntome.ie is a resource for you there. Thanks, Fiona. Have a wonderful day. Take care of yourself. All right, bye-bye, Fiona. Take care. Fiona O'Malley there. Any views on that? 086 60 25,000. Back with your comments after these.
Go full Lidl this Mother's Day. Spoil them with our Board B approved deluxe Irish Angus roasting joint, 19% off, now only $10.49 with Lidl Plus. And say thanks for everything with our beautiful flower bouquets from just $4.99. In store March 27th. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl this Mother's Day.
Hi, Mom. Yeah, we've hit the road. Should be there in about an hour. They're so excited to see you. Everyone, say hi to Granny.
With up to 7 seats, the all-new Volkswagen Tayron has more space for families of all shapes and sizes and breeds. Also available as plug-in hybrid. Search Volkswagen Tayron or visit your local dealer.
George, I told you to go before we left.
Volkswagen.
Order your 251 with Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny. See connellys.ie.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
This Mother's Day, celebrate the extraordinary woman in your life with a gift from Pandora. From elegant necklaces to sparkling bracelets and lab-grown diamonds, find the piece she'll carry close to her heart. So what are you waiting for? Visit us in-store or online at pandora.net and make this day unforgettable. Celebrate love, because she deserves nothing but the best.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual office address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save your business hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 7187 8077 for more details.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Discover trending new styles each week in fashion, footwear, accessories, homeware and more. Visit us to explore the latest arrivals in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Okie doke. So, cloud drifting in now at this stage, turning that sunshine we had earlier a little hazy. There will be some patches of light rain developing later this afternoon. Temperatures 12 to 14 degrees. More cloud will push in this evening with patchy light rain at times. Temperatures 7 to 9 degrees. So, no map alerter that we're going to be having our roads treated, I don't think. Cloudy and patchy tomorrow with light rain or drizzle. It'll gradually brighten up though, with dry and sunny conditions developing through the afternoon. Highest temperatures of 11 to 13 degrees in light northerly breezes. Okay, we always invite your WhatsApp voice messages onto the show, and we did receive a few, and some are for being played out and some aren't. We'll listen to one shortly in a moment. But my system is asking me to rate it, not whilst I'm on air. I might do it another time. All right, so Lisa contacted us on WhatsApp and has views about littering and bins and what have you, focusing on Rosnala. Let's see what Lisa thinks.
Just send a message in relation to the Donegal Council responsibility for bins. It's also a huge issue in Rosnala, the same thing, where there's a complete lack of clarity over when bins should be emptied, who's responsible for it. Bizarre situation between Donegal County Council giving responsibility to the local beach cleaning group to empty the bins, albeit without any funding or resource allocation, just merely the bin in the black bag. Rubbish being stored in a shipping container for weeks on end before the council then come and empty it. The stink that comes from that. But ultimately the issue being that it's a complete barrier to economic development and development of tourism. So we've got a situation with Rosnala now where the local beach cleaning group would rather people not come to Rosnala and, want things like the Council Carberg barrier to stay shut and stuff to stop motorhomes being able to allow in case they use the bins, or not wanting, the trader spots in the council car park to be used because the bins will fill up and, the volunteers have responsibility for this.
All right, thank you very much for that. It is an ongoing situation, isn't it, about rubbish and how we deal with rubbish, and it has been a bit of a frustration of mine in that often we don't provide services because of the upkeep or maintenance of them. Our bins the same. We have seen bins removed because they become hotspots for rubbish because we don't have the regime to empty them when they need to be emptied. And something we probably need to get a handle of because, we had one good weekend and thankfully the county seemed to be flooded with visitors. Was it last weekend or the weekend before? And, we're heading towards the summer and we need to, we have a window, do we, to get things right. Okay, back to some of your comments on other issues. Aquila says the victims of toxic masculinity are women and girls. Of course, that's a given. And also, too, with pornography and some of this commentary, there are young girls that believe they have to act a certain way to conform with what are social or perceived social norms when they're not the case at all. Aquila says, personally think if we put some hard regulation on algorithms, this manosphere crap wouldn't have taken off in the first place. They grew because of the algorithms seeking controversy to push to the front and to drive engagement. Yeah. Whose funding turned to me? Is it an NGO or a government organisation? We can find that out. It might receive some funding from government, but not be a government organisation. There's lots of NGOs. Donegal Down Syndrome's an NGO, for an example. Just in case we get into the whole NGO funding conversation. Morning, Greg. The GEA League final is a joke. The Grab All Association is just creating more matches to get more paydays. Same happened years ago with the backdoor system. Only knockout competition I've ever seen that you get another chance after being knocked out. I think it would be terrible if Kerry ended up league champions. I think over the course of, 8 games, the best is at the top of the league. Greg, you're forgetting about the money the GEA are after from the 2 days of finals. Yes, I agree in the time limit between league and championship. Mayo won the league. Up Donegal. Yep, okay. Hi, Greg. The past 4 nights or so, there is 2 Cocker Spaniel dogs running around the Muff area. They're scaring my pet cat, which is petrified now to go outside. What can I do? Well, you've done something there. Maybe someone's missing the Cocker Spaniels. They're nice dogs. Or maybe they're not being looked after properly. I don't know. We'll follow that one up tomorrow. Thank you very much for listening today, though. We've really enjoyed your company, your calls, your comments, your texts, your views, your listens. All very much appreciated. And we're back to do it